And good morning. It is a Wednesday edition of GCR. I would be Glenn. He would be Griffin. Drew's going to join us a little bit later on this morning. A lot to do on the program today, and we got to get started right out of the chute. There was a sign that just fell. I don't know what the hell's going on over there. We will get to Would You Rather Wednesday. I'll get those scenarios posted later on this morning. Today's show brought to you by PressBox Online's offers page. Eagles, or maybe you're thinking about the Chiefs this week. Place your Super Bowl bets with your favorite team and pick from hundreds of fun prop bets. Thousands of dollars in special sign-up offers with the top sportsbooks are available at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers now and join the fun with great offers from FanDuel, BetMGM, Barstool, and more. Unfortunately, did not go the way that Maryland wanted things to go last night, although it looked like it was going to be a butt-kicking in the early going. They did battle back. They took the lead in the second half. It'd be nice if they could make a three, but they ultimately fell to Michigan State 63-58. That said, it's still been a pleasant little stretch for the Terps. This man was on the call Saturday night when they took on Minnesota and handed them a bit of a drubbing on the road. He is Big Ten Network analyst Shon Morris, and he's with us this morning here on GCR. Shon, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Happy to do it. And out here in Pennsylvania, I've got the Penn State-Wisconsin game later tonight, and it's sunny and 40, and given where I came from, this is almost like summer, so no complaints.
You know, it's so funny you say that because we're feeling about the same this week. It was miserable in Maryland. It was like 20 degrees on Saturday, and now, you know, a nice 42-degree day feels like it's like spring is coming at this point, Sean. It's really quite wonderful.
It is, but it's still basketball season, and you know, a lot of good hoops coming down the stretch here.
You know, we're in this interesting place, right, where we know Maryland has probably outperformed expectations. Like it's wild to me that we could be disappointed by Maryland losing a game on the road at Michigan State, given, you know, everything. If you had told me that before the season, that you're going to be crushed by Maryland losing the game on the road at Michigan State, I would have said to you, like, really? I was going to care that much about this year's team? I don't know that I would have expected it. But that's kind of where we are, that somehow, some way, we're actually a little bit disappointed by the result last night.
Yeah, and last night's game was, you know, really kind of a snapshot of Maryland's season so far. They defend so well.
Yeah.
You know, and because of that, they always give themselves a chance. Now it didn't look like they were going to have much of a chance when they came out and got down 15-0, but they hung around, they battled, and you know, when they can, you know, get something remotely resembling some perimeter performance on the offensive end, they're really tough to beat because of how well they defend. And I think, you know, to your point about why people are kind of interested in Maryland and disappointed when they lost, I think it's because of how they play. I mean, they're aggressive defensively. They come at you. They continue to battle. It may not be the most artistic thing you're going to see, but there's no question that you have to value the effort. And because of that effort, I think to your earlier statement, they've really kind of outperformed what people thought they might do coming into this year. And I still really like this team as the rest of the regular season unfolds and heading into the Big Ten tournament, because the way that they get after you on the defensive end, and when they're able to set that kind of three-quarter court, they're a tough team to play. And even if you beat them, as Michigan State was fortunate enough to do last night, you know you've been in a battle, and you're going to have to exert yourself, no question.
Shon, can you take me through the mind of a player or even of a coach? Maryland, to your point about the perimeter, it was disastrous, and it's been disastrous all year. They're one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country. Last night they were 3 for 22 from beyond the arc, and at one point in the second half, ironically, right before they went on their run, you know, like every other dumb guy on Twitter, I said something like, not really sure why Maryland thinks they can just keep jacking threes. It feels like they're convincing themselves they can just shoot their way out of it. Can you take me through the mindset? Because I was reminded by a couple people that for the most part they weren't taking bad looks last night. They were taking open looks. They just weren't making them. Can you take me through the mindset of a player, of Kevin Willard, of how you approach there's this argument that, hey, you got to keep shooting, shooters shoot. That's the way this goes. But when shots aren't falling last night, it seemed like the moment they said, hey, no, stop doing that, attack the rim on every possession, they put a run together and got back into the basketball game. How do you approach that as a team that doesn't shoot well, but you still have to be a threat? It's still nice to be able to hit three-pointers. Like, how do you approach all of that within a game?
Well, as long as, the shot, and they did have a lot of really good, clean shots that came after a ball reversal or a dribble penetration and a kick out. And you have to take those, because if you don't take them, even you have to at least be a threat to take the shot, because right. What'll happen, and we've seen teams do that with Maryland and other teams that have gone through some shooting slumps. What they'll do then is, hey, they'll just gap and clog, and take away the ability to get in the lane, either with a post feed or with a dribble drive. So you have to take them. I mean, you just have to take those shots. Now, you don't take them after one pass and, the defense hasn't had to work. And I thought, with very few exceptions, the threes that they took were pretty good. And I would want, I certainly would want Jahmir Young, whenever he's open, let it fly, because he's so dynamic. If he hits one of those or a couple of those, because of his ability to drive, you knock down one or two of those, then you become a much more difficult guy to guard, because then you're going to be able to get to your real strength, which is getting in the lane and creating. And I think that they had to take some of those shots last night in particular. When Julian Reese got in foul trouble, he was in, he was out. He wasn't able to really kind of get into any kind of flow. And so I think a lot of those came with him out of the ball game, because if they're gapping off and you can't throw it in with a post feed, and they're gapping and taking away the dribble drive, then you have to be able to drive and dish. And a lot of those shots came, I think, when Reese was in some foul trouble, because he wasn't able to get into any kind of offensive flow. He got a couple of quick fouls. Dante Scott had that in the first half, right? He had 2 quick fouls. I mean, the ball game was barely underway, and he was already on the bench. So a lot of the things that you would have usually, either with a post touch with a feed, or you clear out and let Dante Scott go to work, for periods of time, they just didn't have that option.
He is Big Ten Network analyst Shon Morris. He's with us here on GCR. Shon, to your point, right? Like, despite all of this, somehow Maryland led this game late. They had a genuine chance to win this basketball game, despite getting 3 for 22, despite being down 15-0 to start the game, despite foul trouble for Julian Reese. Don Carey did not play well last night, and they're not very deep. Like, they had to put Patrick Emilien for 22 minutes last night. Like, all of that says they probably should have gotten their brains beat in. How much of that is a testament to what Kevin Willard has done here in the first season? I tried to articulate it in a column earlier this week that I don't know how to define it, but it feels like this isn't a great basketball team, but it feels like a basketball team that has outperformed not only expectations, but has outperformed what they actually have personnel-wise. How much do you make of the job that Kevin Willard has done, and why, not just in the micro, but in the macro, maybe Maryland basketball fans should have some real reason for optimism?
Well, I think that you mentioned the fact that they really didn't get into any kind of offensive flow, but the reason they were able to get back in and eventually take the lead, the way they were able to turn Michigan State over and get some easy baskets in transition and disrupt what they were doing, that's something that's been there all year. And I think that's what's going to allow them to have whatever success that they're going to have moving forward. But the other thing that it's doing in his first year there is, everyone maybe one of the most overused terms in the world, sports or not, is culture, right? Well, we're going to create a culture. We're going to, you can call it what culture, foundation, traits that you want to, emulate, that toughness culture and that ability to kind of hang together. I think that's the thing that if I were, a Michigan or Maryland basketball fan, rather, that I would really be pleased with, because this is a group of guys, and look, they all worked together last year. I mean, this is still kind of a work in progress. I mean, the coach wasn't there, your backcourt, wasn't there, Young and Carey and those guys. Now you had some guys back with Akeem Hart, who I really like, and Dante Scott and Julian Reese, but you had other guys that are coming in, but they've gotten together, and they've gotten together on the defensive end, and watching them, not just last night, but seeing them on Saturday and then in their practices, and that's where you really get a sense of this. This is a team that you can tell they like one another. They're connected, and that connectedness is really apparent on the defensive end. I mean, they communicate, they help, they're active, and regardless of how they finish up the year, which I still think they're going to have a lot more wins in them and a nice little run in them, I think that if I were looking at it in kind of the more macro view with Maryland basketball, I would just like the fact that they're laying the foundation of this is how we're going to play. We're going to extend you defensively. We're going to come at you. Our offense may not necessarily always be clicking. We'll address that in recruiting and probably the transfer portal, since that's a reality now. But the way that we're going to play is kind of non-negotiable, and this is how we're going to do things. And so far, in 2.5 months, I mean, for them to be sitting where they are right now, pretty good. And they also tested themselves, right? I mean, they found out a lot about themselves in the non-conference,
no doubt.
that a lot of teams didn't. And I think that as this thing comes down the stretch, you got a lot of teams in that 5, 6, 7, 8 win things, and could finish 9, 10, or 11 wins in there. The difference between a Maryland, for instance, and let's just say that it got down, not necessarily that it will, but a team like a Northwestern, for instance, which has a similar record, maybe even a little bit better record now. But if you take a look at Maryland's non-conference and a team like Northwestern's non-conference, and you're getting down to making a decision, depending on how things happen in the rest of the country, Maryland's going to have the edge because they tested themselves. And I think because they tested themselves, they found out a lot more about what's going to work for them once the beginning of the year started than maybe some other teams did.
It's a great point. It's funny because you brought up you got Penn State tonight. Maryland's going to host Penn State on Saturday. And then after that, next Thursday night, probably the marquee game of the year in College Park as Purdue comes to town. And Maryland, just held Purdue to their lowest output of the season a couple weeks ago. As much as we've kind of anointed Purdue, and understandably so, the best team in the Big Ten, if Maryland bounces back, handles business against Penn State on Saturday, I don't know that anybody wouldn't believe Maryland was capable of beating Purdue next Thursday night.
Well, yeah, especially in College Park, right? I mean, that's a very difficult place for someone to come and play, and ask Indiana, right? And look at what Indiana has done over the last, I'd say, week or month, putting together the streak that they have. Yeah. So it's there, and it's going to be really intriguing because you talk about the next 2 games for the Terps. Talk about 2 teams that play differently. I mean, Penn State, who I'll see tonight, they shoot threes like crazy. They'll sometimes go with Miles Dredd as the biggest guy that they're going to have on the floor at about 6'4", 6'5", guarding the post. And then, you play that style, and then you have to adjust to, a guy that's got his own area code and 2 freshman guards that kind of play around him. So that's what makes it really intriguing. But the one thing that you will get is whether they're guarding the 3-point line or they're figuring out how they're going to double and run things at Edie when they play Purdue. Man, defensively, they're a lot of fun to watch because they just keep coming at you, and that's what gives them a chance.
Before I let you go, Shon Morris, and I really appreciate the time, I think we were kind of accepting the idea that maybe Rutgers had separated themselves a little bit as the second-best team in the league, but now they lose Mag to the torn ACL. They just lost last night. Obviously Indiana, the last 2 results would say that maybe they're separating themselves a bit, but hey, they just lost to Maryland last week. Are any of these teams outside of Purdue likely to genuinely separate themselves between now and the start of the Big Ten tournament, or are we going to go into the Big Ten tournament saying it's kind of Purdue and everybody else?
I would probably, at this point, kind of take the latter view, which is it's Purdue, and then I still might give a slight edge to Rutgers because of their body of work, but losing Mag is big, and they also look that's a team that they have a little bit more 3-point shooting with the Cam Spencer kid that transferred in there. He's helped them, but he's hit a little bit of a rough patch, so they're not they're not as prone to offensive droughts as they might have been in the past. But the one similarity they have to Maryland, which I really like, is, I mean, if you're playing Steve Pikiell's team, I mean, you better be ready because they're going to defend every body fluid out of you. So you better be ready, and you can go through. You have a little bit more of a margin for error when you play like Rutgers or Maryland than, say, a team like Penn State that when they're clicking offensively, they're really good. But, you know, if you're not making 11 threes a ball game, your margin for error gets really, really thin, right? So it's all depending on how you're going to play and what your kind of personnel dictates how you're going to play. Penn State's playing the way they have to play. There's just no question that's what they have to do, and they put their team together, at least for this year, to kind of match what it is they felt they needed to do. And Maryland's kind of the same way. And then, you know, look for Maryland. They're still going to guard you next year, but they'll find a guy that can shoot. They'll find a couple guys that can shoot, you know, and they'll address at least what right now looks to be, you know, kind of a shortcoming. But that's a team that's fun to watch. I hadn't seen Maryland in person until last Saturday, and the way that they get after you, and I just like the way that the way they play together, and it's a team that likes one another, and that's not the case with everybody.
No, they're bought in. I mean, and it is. It's been a joy to watch, even though you know they are far from a perfect team, and certainly not a team that you're expecting to make some sort of deep run. But you're hoping that they're laying a foundation for what's to come in the future under Kevin Willard here at the University of Maryland, and that's been the fun part. Shon Morris, you mentioned Penn State, Wisconsin. Anything else on the horizon that we can plug for you?
Hey, you know what? I've got a few more games coming down the stretch, but the fact that anyone pays me to show up and talk about basketball is one of the greatest scams ever perpetrated on the viewing public. It's fantastic.
It really beats work. I know you got to work for a living too, but when you're doing that, it beats working for a living. I understand.
Oh, yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad, and you know, especially the league is always really competitive. It's the log jam in the middle, and especially at this time of year, what really makes it interesting is there are no secrets. And, you know, when we were talking to Coach Willard at the shoot-around, he said, you know, it's really different when you go through the second time. He goes, stuff that you might be able to execute the first time, by the time you make the turn, and with the size of the players in the Big Ten, you better be ready to counter the opposition's counter. And that's what makes this, you know, whatever my job is, quote-unquote job, so much fun. It's just kind of seeing how these guys scout one another and then figure out, look, they're going to take this away. How do we respond? And it beats working.
I mean, there is no question about that. Shon Morris, really appreciate you hopping on with us this morning, man. I really enjoyed this. Would love to do this again as we get closer to the Big Ten tournament.
No problem. Appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out.
Shon Morris, Big Ten Network, with us here on GCO. Of course, former standout at Northwestern. He was on the call on Saturday night. Again, I appreciate him taking the time. Last night it was so weird, right? Like, everything about it is weird because they didn't play well at all, and yet you're disappointed by the result. You're disappointed because it turned out to be a winnable game. They had the lead. They were rolling in the second half. They had all the momentum. They had quieted the crowd completely, and then Michigan State knocks down 2 threes, and the game kind of changes. And the frustrating part late, when they were down by 7, I think I joked on Twitter, yeah, but for Maryland, that's a 4-possession game. They're down by 3 with the ball late. That's a 2-possession game. And that's the trouble when you are such a bad three-point shooting team, is that you simply can't count on it in any way. And credit Tom Izzo, right? Like, maybe he's not – I mean, this team certainly isn't a classic Michigan State team, but down 3 – there's no way of getting around it. He outcoached Kevin Willard in that moment. Kevin Willard drew something up that involved inbounding the ball to Julian Reese, and Tom Izzo smartly said to everyone on the floor, if that dude touches the ball, just foul him. Julian Reese is a bad free throw shooter. Now, for what it's worth, he made the first one, and for a second you thought maybe he was going to make Tom Izzo regret the decision. But understand, part of the math that Tom Izzo was doing was that even if he were to somehow make both, it's still better than having them get off a look from 3. We get the ball back. They're going to have to foul. We can drag this thing out for a little while. and they've got a pretty good free throw shooting team. In that moment, the ball couldn't go to Julian Reese because you couldn't have Julian Reese at the free throw line. Now, I get it. You want his presence on the floor. You want him there to try to get a rebound. You kept him off the floor for so much of the second half that you needed to have him on the floor in those moments. Like, I understand, but the ball couldn't go into Julian Reese's hands because it was such a desirable outcome for Michigan State for Julian Reese to get fouled in that situation. That's okay. That's okay. It's Tom Izzo, man. Like, dude knows a thing or two about basketball coaching. That's going to happen. And, there maybe was some argument from Kevin Willard, like, okay, if they do it, then the clock will stop and we can drag this thing out a little bit further and go from there. I don't know. But it definitely was not a good outcome for Maryland to have Julian Reese on the free throw line that late in the game, down by 3. That's not desirable. All said, despite almost nothing going their way, Maryland damn near won a game on the road against a decent Michigan State team. I don't want to oversell it. They're not particularly good, but they're decent. And in this league, winning any game other than against the bottom feeders on the road is very difficult to do, as everyone's finding this season when they come to College Park. So it's a weird feeling that you have about that last night. There's no world in which you really should be worked up by the result. It definitely could have been worse. It looked like it was going to be drastically worse. If there's something you don't like, it's that the slow starts continue. They were getting their butts kicked before the game ever really began. I mean, by the time, if you never flipped over to ESPN News to watch the start of the game and you were waiting for the previous game to end on ESPN2, by the time it got on, you might have thought to yourself, maybe I'll go watch the State of the Union or something like that. And by the time it got onto ESPN2, I think it was damn near already 15. It was at least 10-0.
It felt like the UCLA game from
yeah,
December.
It absolutely felt like
we got really excited for it.
Yep.
It was a national.
Well, I don't know how excited everybody was for last night. It was a
yeah. Well,
it was
I mean,
a road
they had won
game.
4 in a row, and
I mean, I get they had been playing
Maryland.
They had been playing good basketball, but it was I never before the game thought that Maryland was winning that game. Honestly, and that's the nature of the Big Ten. I assume that a decent to good teams will win at home in the Big Ten. That's the assumption that I make. So, again, all of this is it's a weird feeling. It matters as much as what you do on Saturday. They're hosting Penn State on Saturday. They go win that game, all's good. Like everything's fine. There's no problem. And then you take your chances at home against Purdue the following Thursday and see what happens and kind of go from there. So, it's a bummer. The real bummer is the three-point shooting thing is not getting fixed. They might have a game or two where they are, more capable, but they are a bad three-point shooting team.
It's just frustrating because Jameer Young might be one of the best dribble drive guards in all of college basketball, and it's frustrating that they don't do that every time.
The point that Shon Morris made, and I was getting into it with somebody on Twitter last night, and I understand. They were in the first half. They were jacking some shots up. Like part of the reason they fell behind 15-0 is because they were running bad sets and jacking shots up. But as the game went on, they were doing a better job of running offenses and getting looks, just not making them. And it's what we brought up with Shon Morris is relevant. It's the internal question. When Maryland got back into the game last night, it was because they decided to be determined and go to the basket and do nothing else. But there's things that come with that, right? Julian Reese gets this dead ball technical foul, which I guess I understand, but at the same time, the dude literally has him hooked in both of his arms, and he wants to shake free of that. Are you saying that it's the player's responsibility when they are being bear-hugged to just be bear-hugged and not try to go get out of that? I understand that in the process of trying to get out of it, he ends up bringing his arm up. Like, I understand what they saw. but they also know why his arm came up. It's because he's trying to get out of having both of his arms hooked around him. When you're going to the basket constantly, there's always going to be more of a risk of picking up an offensive foul for a team that doesn't have a lot of depth. In a perfect world, when you are this good at attacking the basket, it collapses a defense and you're kicking it out to an open shooter who's drilling a three. In a perfect world. Maryland's not that. It's going to be an issue the rest of the season. It will ultimately probably be even more than the depth, probably be the single biggest thing that dooms them whenever we get to that point. And right now, it's looking better for the chance that point will be in the NCAA tournament, but not a given. Still work to do to make sure of that. Okay. I mean, that's a lot. Man, as it turns out, that's a lot. Let's talk about that in a second. I don't know. I'm in a weird place. I'm just in a weird place where overall, very happy. I say very happy. Maybe very happy is the wrong way to put it. Overall, I'm encouraged. I keep using that word. I used it in my column on Monday. I'm overall very encouraged by what I've seen. It's going to be tough to watch a team that can't knock down threes. Especially when the other team can. Michigan State's not that good, but they could just knock down threes. They could change the game in 2 possessions, and Maryland just isn't doing that. It's tough. Shon Morris's point, remembering to see the forest through the trees, is they're not gonna be like this forever. They're just not. They're not gonna be like this forever. They're gonna end up next year getting a shooter or two on the floor. If you can keep getting Kevin Willard teams to buy in and sell out defensively, and to be fair, a lot of Mark Turgeon teams defended. I don't want to be disrespectful about that. When I compare these two things, Mark Turgeon teams did play defense a lot. They ran really bad sets. The offense looked utterly lost at times. Offense has looked lost at the beginning of games a couple of times. Last night they looked lost offensively, but they fixed it quickly. They got better sets. They didn't always get good results, but they got better sets. You get some shooters on the floor. You keep defensive intensity up. You add a little bit of depth. You have 3 guys off the bench that you can trust and give real minutes to, including maybe another big that can be helpful. You got a real chance moving forward. But you're not going to solve all that this season, obviously. All right, today's show is also brought to you by the Baltimore County Police Department. You're thinking about a change in your career. The Baltimore County Police Department has some great opportunities available, including an opportunity for you if you're right out of high school, or you know someone who's right out of high school who hasn't been able to launch themselves just yet. There's an opportunity for you to start with a cadet salary of $30,000 or more. If you're a lateral officer, a new officer who's making a change in their life, salary's over $60,000. Join BaltimoreCountyPD.com is the website for you to find out more. For better or for worse, Drew Forrester joins us next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
There's something for everyone this February at Laurel Park. Come watch live horse racing every Friday through Sunday and join us on Saturday, February 18th for the Winter Stakes Spectacular, featuring 6 stakes races and $900,000 in purses, including the General George and Barbara Fritchie Steaks. The fun doesn't stop there. Stick around for our winter Mardi Gras celebration with live music, delicious food and drinks, and a carnival atmosphere. Plus, don't miss out on President's Day holiday racing on Monday, February 20th. Visit laurelpark.com for more info. That's laurelpark.com for more. See you at the track.
Another Orioles season is in the books, and the Bat-Around was there every step of the way as the Birds posted their first winning season in 6 years. And after promoting 2 #1 overall prospects in Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, Mike Elias has said it's liftoff from here. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, and along with my co-host Zach Goodman, we'll be here every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon all off season, discussing every signing, trade, and waiver claim as we navigate the cold winter months that lead to spring training. You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. And if you miss a show, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. So tune into the Bat-Around with Paul Valley and Zach Goodman every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
Back in here on GCR as we continue on a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. Drew Forrester is in studio with us.
We call this segment The Upgrade.
The Upgrade is what we call it. Hey, coming up at
Royal Farms Coffee.
Coming up, you do have your Royal Farms. What did you go with
I would have
today?
brought you guys one.
You're a big Jamaican Blue man.
Yeah.
Is it always Jamaican Blue for you, or do you mix it up?
All the way back to high school.
Yeah. Well, I visited Glen Burnie. I'm going to be honest with you. It wasn't as good as Jamaican Blue. I'm just being as honest as I can.
They used to have all those fancy names.
The stuff you guys had down there.
They used to have all those fancy names for it.
We called it Skunk Blue.
Yeah. Well, I was going to get you guys a coffee, and then I decided not to.
No, thanks. I appreciate that. Thanks, buddy. That means a lot to me.
It's like Stuart Sink that time when I
I
said, Stu, you come on with me
right.
Tomorrow morning, 8:30? He goes, I can't. I got that practice round tomorrow morning. I said, well, I'm on from 6 to 10.
Yeah.
Just hop in your car.
Right.
And on the way over, I'll give you the number, and you call in.
Give a call, yeah.
I can't tomorrow. I said, well, how about Wednesday morning?
Right. The good news is we're on all week.
How about Wednesday morning?
Yeah.
And he said, I got the same thing. I got like 8:30 practice time every day this week.
Yeah.
I said, well, you could just get in your car and
right.
Or
by the way, this is before we knew that we shouldn't be doing phone calls in the car and stuff like. This used to be my deal with Ravens players when you and I were on
your way to practice,
every day over.
Sam Cook,
I would say,
hey, Sam, just call us.
I mean, it was Ray Rice did it one more. A lot of guys, I would just say, hey, tomorrow morning on your way in, why don't you just call in? Why don't you just call the station?
I mean, you're just driving.
And most of the guys would be like, oh, all right, fine, I'll do it.
So I said to Stuart Sink, I said, hey, you know what's funny is I love golf so much. What time's your practice round over?
Yeah, I'll work around you.
I'll come back to the station.
Yeah, right.
What time's your practice round over? 1:30? Why don't you just call at 3 and I'll be at the station? He said, honestly, I just don't feel like doing it.
Right. In a way,
and
if he had said that,
I had mad respect for that.
No, but I would have been more mad respect if he said that first.
Yeah, right.
If he had just said, instead of putting you through the rigmarole.
For about 4 minutes there, I'm back and forth with him.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing, and I'm I'm begging, and I'm like, come on, Stu.
Yeah, right.
And he finally goes, I just don't feel like doing it. And I said, no problem. And I walked away, and I was in no way, shape, or form was I mad. I mean, I was sitting there. Primarily, the truth of the matter, I was sitting there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday because I didn't want to fight the traffic from Congressional. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm either leaving at 3 or I'm leaving at 6:30. And the spread, the food and the drinks, there's no reason to leave.
Yep.
You just stay there the whole time. And I'm like, this is perfect. I'll stay here till 5:30.
Yep. And there
I'll go
was.
in the media center.
What are you doing? Right.
I'll go get dinner and have a cocktail and talk to Rex Hoggart or somebody, and then I'll drive home at 7, and the traffic won't be bad. So I was there. It wasn't like he kept me there. So when he said, I think I'll pat, when he said, I just don't feel like doing it, I just said, okay, thanks, and I turned to walk away. In no way, shape, or form did I give off the impression I was mad. Because I wasn't really.
And I think you were a little
And
mad.
he said,
I think you were a little.
I wasn't mad.
Right.
It's a.
No, I get.
It's a Richard move, but I'm not.
But that's
it would be different if I would have I waited there,
right,
and been like, dude, I got to get out of here at 5:30. Oh, good, he's done.
Right.
And then he would have done that. Then I probably would have been miffed. But I was staying anyway. But when I turned and walked away, he said, "Hey, it was Drew, right?"
Right.
I turned around and he goes, "No hard feelings."
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.
I said,
thanks, right.
None at all. If you shoot 100, but no problem.
No hard
so anyway,
at all.
I would have brought you guys a cup of coffee.
No.
Then I decided
you were not going to do that, right? And I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
You drink coffee there, Gavin?
No, I don't.
You don't. All right.
Hey, Joe Smith is going to join us in about 24 minutes.
That's impossible that's his real name.
It is Joe Smith's real name. What are you trying to tell me?
We'll stick with this plan.
We're going to stick with that. So then Joe Smith's going to join us at 11:20 is when he's going to join us. Dalen Cuff from ESPN will join us at 11. He didn't get the memo that you don't do guests, by the way, Drew. He didn't get that, Remember the time I booked Raleigh Massimino? I came in and he was like, if you're just going to ruin when I'm here, everybody's here to listen to me.
Oh, right.
I said,
right.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, right.
I'm sorry that I would have booked a legendary coach to come on with you
Guy
at the same time, right?
Won the national
that's all.
championship when Gary McLean was all hopped up on whatever he was hopped up on.
Right, exactly right.
Which turned out actually to be true.
Joe
Gary McLean and Ed Pinckney were having that first half. Everyone watching the game, this was before you were born, everyone watching the game said...
I was born.
What? Oh, you were?
Yeah.
1985? You were
Yes, I was born in 83.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't watching the game.
I don't think I was.
But everybody watching that game in the first half, I think Villanova shot like 81%. And everyone watching said, what on earth are those two guys hopped up on?
Mm-hmm.
And 10 years later, we found out.
Right.
They were hopped up. And that,
well, in fairness, so is everybody else.
Yeah, but not like that
maybe,
night.
Maybe not. Maybe
they shot 81% from the floor in the first half.
All right. Anyway, Joe Smith was teammates, of course, with LeBron James in Cleveland at one point, so we'll talk to him about that. Dalen Cuff was in studio last night for ESPN. Let's not do that.
You don't want to have that argument?
No. In fact, it pops up in Would You Rather Wednesday today. Hey, let's not do that.
I won't be here for that because I have golf. I mean, I have to get out of here. Or I got an appointment.
Yeah. When do you have to leave?
I got an appointment at 11.
When do you have to duck out?
11:33. I got to get out.
Wait,
11:38.
Really?
11:38. I got to roll.
You got to roll at 11:38. All right. We'll make sure
on the tee.
We squeeze. Is that what it is?
See, the good thing about golf is, like, you got a 12-14 tee time. You can walk up there at 12-12 and play. You're like, I'm here.
Today's nice. People will be playing today,
it's
right?
Beautiful
100%.
Yep.
All right, a couple things. One, did you watch the Lakers thing last night? Did you watch?
I saw I turned it on. He had 27 points, I think, when I turned it on.
What did you?
I was following along with it.
By the way, the reason why we default to LeBron versus Michael Jordan is because we have nothing else. That's all anybody has. It's so dumb. It's so boring. I don't even want to go there.
Right.
What did you make of the Cal Ripken-esque stoppage to the game last night? What did you make of that?
In terms of its appropriateness or not?
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are so few things that matter in sports, but let's just make it basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are so many things that just matter in basketball that it does require or deserve, maybe not require. It deserves some sort of formal break. How long was it? 24 minutes or something
like that? Yes.
It deserves a formal break to say this is, that this is an incredible accomplishment. Obviously, it helped, I think, that it was at home. I don't know. It would be interesting to know, I guess. Would the league have done something similar had they been in Oklahoma City instead of in L.A.?
Right.
And I think the answer to that sort of kind of is no. I think they would have done something. I think there would have been a break. I think they would have acknowledged it. But I don't think it would have gone on quite as long as it went on. In the same way, and baseball made it obviously happen for the Orioles, although there was wasn't there a weird set of circumstances with the Orioles where they had a rain out or something, and if they had had another rain out, maybe
the
that
game would have been on the. It was the last game of a homestand
right.
for sure.
There was something
yes.
weird happened where
it was the scheduled day from before the season. Before the season, it was supposed to be September 6th.
Okay, but I thought something happened where they were nervous that the game might have happened on the road because I thought I remember them saying something about they might have moved the game.
Maybe there was a schedule. Maybe they had a rain out during the season.
Just,
right.
In my back of my mind, I remember them saying if something weird happened, they would potentially move the a game from later to that. They would make it at home. Whereas last night, because of the nature of you never know when he's going to score all these points,
right.
It was at home completely by happenstance.
Sure. Right.
So when they got to the 30, whatever it was the other night, Sunday, I guess it was Sunday when he got within 36.
Yep.
Yeah. So they knew, hey, this thing's got a real chance of happening on Wednesday night or Tuesday night. And I'm assuming that that's when they put all this together. I don't think it was inappropriate. I think that, like I said, what other record? No one cares about the all-time rebounding record. I mean, would they stop the game?
I can't fathom.
And say someone just broke the
record?
record?
You don't know who has the all-time rebounding record.
It's true. It's probably Rodman. But if they would stop that game, but they wouldn't have any sort of prolonged celebration.
No.
They would stop it if...
By the way, it's Wilt.
Okay. So if someone broke Wilt Chamberlain's all-time... which record, by the way, are we talking about?
That one, by the way, which number is greater? Because the rebound number is 23,924.
That one's better, but not by much.
Yeah, right.
Although I don't.
I'm not certain.
I still don't think I agree with that. I believe the mathematical.
You say that. By the way, you're not going to believe this. Dennis Rodman's not even in the top 10.
Oh, really?
This is insane.
So who are the top 10?
Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Kareem, Elvin Hayes, Moses Malone, Tim Duncan, Karl Malone, Robert Parrish, Kevin Garnett, and Dwight Howard. Dennis Rodman, 23rd.
Wes Unseld is 14th.
I wouldn't have thought that. Anyway, so I thought it was appropriate. And again, I'm saying that, though, mainly based on I just don't know how many other things in the NBA are
right.
all that worthy. I would say to me the greatest record this is a record about longevity because Didn't Michael play currently? Michael has played in 300 fewer games.
Sounds
is that
about right? Yeah.
The record, I think, the one that I've always thought in the NBA is the remarkable one is Golden State beating Chicago's
win record. Right, except that they didn't win the title and Chicago did. That's the
okay, but. I mean,
yeah, I get it. That
they went 73.
It's insane. I agree.
It's
absolutely.
They do that year?
It's absolutely.
They go 74-8 or
73 and I think it was 73-9 because the last game still mattered, so it had to be 73-9.
Okay.
Remember, because they won their last
game.
And
Cleveland beat them that year, right? That's the year Cleveland beat them in 7 games where it was fixed.
Right.
All right. So,
well, it's all fixed. Right? I don't know if you've heard. The NFL's rigged. They send scripts out.
But to me, I would say that's the record like that. The NBA, that's the one that I think, man, that's really worth, doing something about. And I remember, I mean, that wasn't that long ago. What was that, 15? 16?
What was Kobe Bryant's final? It was the same year as Kobe Bryant's final season.
Okay, so 15, 16, somewhere around
there.
The thing about the Warriors that year is that they wanted that. Like the
15-16 season.
And
so
I'm not
16.
And I'm not saying that Chicago didn't, because I think I remember in Phil Jackson's book, Sacred Hoops, he talked about that and said that they didn't start thinking about it until like December, that the Bulls were whatever they were, 20-2.
Right. They had a chance.
22-2.
Sure.
And someone said like, hey, we could do this.
You could win 70 games, right.
We might not lose 5 more times, 6 more times. The Warriors set out to do it. I think Golden State started off that year like 11-0 or 11-1 and said,
"Let's go do this.
We're going to do this.
Let's go break this record."
And to ask an NBA, and you see it all the time with this controversy over the load management, to ask NBA players to try every night,
it's a lot.
It's impossible,
and maybe cost them the NBA title in the process.
Right. But it's impossible to get all 14 of those guys, and some of them don't play, but it's impossible to get those guys to all try every night.
Yes.
I don't care who the coach is. You can't do it because they won't do it.
If you're the Wizards, it's impossible to get them to try any night.
Yeah, right. So anyway, I would say to me that's the greatest thing. That's the greatest record in the NBA. But this This is significant, and I think this is I said this to somebody yesterday when we were talking about it. This is the first, and I guess Brady also counts. LeBron is the first athlete that I really ever saw in my lifetime go from a prodigy to the arguably.
Brady wasn't a prodigy.
That's my point.
Yeah.
This is the first guy in my lifetime that I've seen go from, and I guess Tiger would be the other one. So I'd throw Tiger in there, but LeBron is LeBron's the first guy I've ever seen go from prodigy, Sports Illustrated cover, he can't miss, he's going to be the greatest, you got to see this kid, to he became the greatest. Like, you talk about, remember I just saw the video, I was telling you, not YouTube, but the Amazon Prime about the dude who went to UNLV and then went in the crack house.
Greg Stacey Augmon?
No. Went out there, tried to play at UNLV. Right. Was a New York kid. Went out there. Was a playground legend.
You're not thinking of Sebastian Telfair?
No,
right?
No. Adidas ruined him. No, this was in the UNLV's heyday. Oh, what was the kid's name? Oh my gosh! I just saw the whole thing.
You say that?
Didn't they call him Sweet Pea?
Lloyd Daniels.
Lloyd Daniels.
Thank you.
So I just saw that if anyone has, I think it was on Amazon Prime, if anyone has one of the streaming services and you can watch that Lloyd Daniels documentary, it's unbelievable. Because Lloyd Daniels was LeBron James. Growing up, everyone said, this guy's going to be the greatest player in the history of the NBA. And he flatlined before he even got to college. Right? Couldn't get in. Tarkanian supposedly got him in, and then he got found in a crack house and was never the same. And he did play in the NBA, but he was
correct.
He was a nobody. LeBron's the first guy I've ever seen, maybe other than Tiger. But again, I'm going to say that because it's niche, I knew about Tiger when he was winning the U.S. Amateur, but no one else did.
People were making a big deal.
No.
Like
100%.
I think Tiger counts as a prodigy, but I think the argument you're making is relevant, which was LeBron was thought of more as a...
He's going to take a team, wherever he goes, wherever LeBron goes, he's going to take this franchise and turn them into something, right? And he did. He turned the Cavaliers into a legitimate franchise
100%,
2 times.
100%.
And you can insert your funny jokes about the dudes that went down there with him to Miami, but he also helped them, right?
I mean, they won 2 titles,
right,
yes.
Right. I mean, he had some help, obviously.
Yeah, but they weren't gonna win 2 titles without LeBron. Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh alone were not going to win 2 NBA titles.
And I would say this is the other thing, and I wrote this today at Drew's Morning Dish. Like, this is the one thing I would say about LeBron that really resonates with me. He has been above the fray, other than the clumsy, dumb moves. Even
I understand. I understand.
He has been above the fray for his entire career,
despite having the giant
off the court. Mm-hmm. They have never. He has led a completely charmed life. No one's ever had a problem with him. He has never appeared on the cover of the tabloids. I have no idea who his wife is, how many kids they have. I know he's got.
Well, then
obviously
you're kind of alone in that. A lot of people do know who his wife is, and a lot of people do. But you certainly know who his kids are.
Right. But he's never. He is remarkable in that way.
Yes, there have been rumors that have been out about LeBron and whether or not he's dabbled in extramarital affairs. I don't
okay. I've never even seen any of that. But okay,
correct. He is as far as a brand goes, and as far as someone who seems like a decent.
That would be odd, by the way, for a basketball player.
Right, I know, and it never do you see that. Apparently, might have come up just short of Wilt Chamberlain, by the way.
But anyway, that's my whole point with him.
The story that you're trying to is that for the most part, he's been a legitimate role model. He has been
absolutely
a larger than life figure. That
I think he's very, very, very underappreciated for the entire package of LeBron
I don't know about
James.
Underappreciated because he's the only person anybody ever talks about in basketball, right? I don't know if he can be underappreciated.
And here's the weirdest thing: he's never been called for traveling.
It's so weird how that works.
Never in his career, not one time.
Remarkable. It's quite amazing.
How about the one game?
Yes, when they don't call the foul at the end of the game.
No, but how about the one game when somebody inbounded the ball to him Do you remember this like 4 years ago? It's still online, where he put the ball under his arm and walked like 6 steps with it while he was talking to somebody on the bench.
Right.
And they didn't call travel.
That's just, but they don't. In fairness, that's not just LeBron.
But
they don't really call it on anybody.
But he put the ball under his arm, the way you and I would at the gym.
Correct. Just walked up the floor like he was a running back.
And they were like,
go ahead. Go.
Anyway,
go right here.
So I thought it was appropriate last night. I guess what I'm going to say is going to sound really weird because you couldn't become the leading scorer without being a rock star. It was probably spotlighted more last night because it was him and not – and I don't even know because if it were Steph Curry, they'd probably do the same thing. And again,
well, yes, you don't become the great
right,
the all-time
and that's my point.
without
like,
being that.
I don't know how to
player.
say that like without like I just found this out.
Yes, if somehow here's the way that you're trying to say. If somehow James Harden,
correct, that's a great point.
Was
they would still stop the game and they would go, James, way to go, buddy.
Right,
all right,
correct.
what time? How much time we got left?
Exactly right.
Like here's a for instance, who's the NFL's all-time leader in interceptions by a linebacker?
Genuinely have no idea.
Of course you don't. You know who it was?
Who?
The father of the Towson football coach.
Is it really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
He has 37 career.
Former Baltimore
Don
Colt.
Shinnick.
Yes.
He's the all-time leader in linebacker interceptions. I think Ray finished with 34?
Yeah.
33, 34?
That sounds right. That sounds right. Yes.
31 for Ray Lewis.
Okay.
Thank
and
you.
Shinnick had 37?
Yes.
Okay. So there you go.
Okay, but that's there's no comparison between
no,
those.
but my point is the other way around.
Yes.
If Ray Lewis had the record,
yes,
and Don Shinnick, who plays for
but
the
I still
Texans,
don't think they would have stopped. Even if it was Ray Lewis, I still don't think because it's the
it's
record's
an innocuous
obscure.
stat.
Right.
It's an innocuous
but we've
stat.
seen
But anyway,
quarterbacks break records.
that's what I think LeBron stinks.
We've seen. That's why we bring him in. Drew Forrester, Drew'sMorningDish.com.
I am not Skip Bayless, by the way. Skip's like, LeBron's overrated. I'm like, what is wrong with this guy?
It's all so dumb. You want to do? Why don't we do Would You Rather Wednesday now? Because I don't know how long you're sticking around. Would You Rather Wednesday is upon us. It's brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. 3 scenarios. They're up. Facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio, at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. Get your responses in. I think we have one more Glory Days gift card that we can give away today to someone who participates. Number 1, would you rather?
By the way, the salmon over there is absolutely
I don't think I've ever tried it.
Oh, my gosh. It's so freaking good.
So many things that I've had there.
The salmon is so good. Anyway,
all right. Would you rather?
Yes.
The Ravens make a very reasonable trade, nothing more than a third-rounder for DeAndre Hopkins, or sign Keenan Allen if he's cut by the Chargers, which the rumors are that he's going to be cut by the Chargers.
I mean, they're both basically the same age, right?
Essentially.
Keenan Allen's 30 and will be 31, and Hopkins 31 will be 32, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
they're
they're both right around there, yes. Keenan Allen is 30. He will be 31 in April.
Right.
And DeAndre Hopkins, I believe, I think he's actually 30 as well. I think they might be the exact same age. Yes, he's 30 and will be 31 in June.
So I'm going this is you're getting you don't have to give up a third-round pick. You know what I say about these draft picks for the most part. I couldn't care less. Trade them. I don't care. I also think maybe I'm wrong. I may be wrong on this. I also think it matters who the quarterback is.
It definitely matters who the quarterback is.
I'm saying it matters who the quarterback is as it relates to those two guys. I don't see them as the exact same player.
They're not. I agree with that.
I think I would probably take Keenan Allen.
Okay. Now it's worth pointing out Keenan Allen missed 7 games.
Yeah,
season,
he hasn't always been healthy either.
DeAndre Hopkins, of course, missed half the season, both of the last 2 years.
He's got a gambling problem. Or was it steroids?
Steroids.
Same thing.
Yes. Not exactly. It's Calvin Ridley that you're thinking of.
Who played a DraftKings bet or something and they got suspended for a year because the league doesn't involve. The league is against gambling. I don't know if you've noticed. The league does not want anything to do with gambling. Have you noticed that?
It's weird. They've really distanced themselves. They said there's one thing that we're not going to in the National Football League. We're not going to stand for.
Of all the things that are a joke about the NFL, and there are a lot of things that are a joke.
His suspension was brought to you by DraftKings.
Yeah,
it's
correct.
just really strange.
But of all the things that are a joke about the league,
I wish beyond anything that they would have had like a pre-made graphic for tweets. You know what I mean? Like, you know how a lot of companies
no doubt.
And like
somehow
transactions are brought to you, and somehow the tweet that announced the suspension
or
would
if they would have said odds that DeAndre Hopkins will be reinstated by the Calvin Ridley. Odds that Calvin Ridley will be reinstated by the end of the year. 7-1, 14-1.
Go right now. Bet it's Caesar.
So, of all the things that are a joke about the league, and there are tons of things, we could all. London's at the top of my. I mean, the European trips at the top of my list. The Thursday night thing, the rules. There's so many things that are stupid. By far, the stupidest thing is their current stance on gambling and the fact that the gambling companies funnel about $200 million into them every year, and you can't go to the game without them talking about gambling. But the players can't even put themselves on a fantasy football team. It's outrageous.
Yep. That's
I get it.
No, I mean,
you should say to the players,
no.
You can't gamble on the games you're playing in.
I would go a step further. I understand it. If you're a professional athlete, you're making this much money, and you can't understand, like, dude, you can do whatever you want to do.
You just can't do this.
You can't do this.
Right.
And that's.
But it was we're suspending him for a season.
I hear you. That's over the top.
Come on.
I get it. But you have
Remember the guy that hit Flacco in the Dolphins game on that Monday night?
Yes, Kiko Alonso.
He got suspended. He got a 15-yard penalty, and they might have thrown him out of the game. He almost killed the guy.
I believe they did throw him out.
I think Flacco died that night.
All damn near did. Ryan Jensen is still fighting that guy somewhere.
Remember Flacco put up two fingers and said, like, I'm good?
Yeah.
Check, please. Remember? Flacco. They said, Joe, where are you? He said, Earth.
So your answer is?
I'll take Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen is your answer.
And some of it's got to do with the helmets.
Of course. I don't think he gets to bring them with him.
I know, but I'm just.
I don't think that it works that way.
But when I close my eyes,
I used to wear it a lot.
If Hopkins was still with the Texans, it would be him.
I had a powder blue Shon Merriman jersey, and it was my favorite thing ever. It was my absolute favorite thing ever. The Ravens could be playing the Chargers, and I would want to wear it because I just loved it so bad.
There's something about them moving though from San Diego to L.A.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not.
It's not.
Those were San Diego
By the
colors.
way, they'd get into the play. Justin Herbert would be in the playoffs and winning games if they were in San Diego.
Completely.
They'd be that.
It's something to do with L.A.
You lost your fantasy football league this year. The penalty is that you have to do an Aaron Rodgers style 4-day
off in the shower. Lost again.
It's unbelievable. Now, tell me why it is. Why is it off in the shower?
That was my team.
Yeah,
my
but
team
why?
named the 1 year.
But why?
And the guy that ran the league said you can't use that name anymore.
Yeah, right.
Come on, man.
You have to do an Aaron Rodgers 4-day darkness retreat.
I saw this.
Where
this guy's lost his mind.
I don't think people are really thinking this through, but we'll get back to it.
This guy's lost his mind.
Or the penalty is that you have to take a Tom Brady-style thirst trap photo. I'm sure you saw it. You might even
have the one yesterday.
You might have it hanging
underwear?
on. Yeah, you might have it hanging on your wall.
I thought that was a Photoshop. Was that real?
No, that's real. That's legitimate.
Right, tell me what happened. He took a photo of himself.
He's involved in an underwear company.
Okay.
And there was something out there like, hey, if this gets 4,000 retweets, Tom will take a picture, and it's his company, so he did it. Like he did it for a
picture. You know something.
Yeah, of course I have the picture.
I know you do.
Yeah, of course I have.
We
might start hanging it up here.
So this was a legit. I thought it was Photoshop.
No,
so this was legitimate.
This is legitimate. Okay. Again, the scenario is
go ahead.
Either you've got to go on the Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat for 4 days
with him.
No, not with Aaron. It's by yourself.
Oh, you got to go.
It's abundantly clear. You go by yourself. No phone, no nothing. You just sit in the dark for 4 days. For 4 days, they bring you your food. That's it. That's all. There's like a slot in the wall.
This guy has lost his
and your
mind.
food comes through.
This is like Shawshank Redemption.
Or you recreate the Tom Brady photo. It gets sent to everyone in your phone. And it's got to be your profile pic until the start of next season.
Yeah, I'm not changing my profile picture. It's me and Ethan at the Senior Open, so I'm not.
That's the one. That's the thing.
I'm not changing. My
you're gonna go torture yourself.
A lot of the
days.
guys that I would send this to have seen me in my underwear.
I do. I think that's true. In fact, I think that's true. And number 3,
I don't know. I'm not going on that 4-day darkness thing.
You got to pick one or the other.
I'll do the underwear.
You're doing the underwear.
Yes. Proudly, by the way. Yes.
Proud. You go to a Super Bowl party on Sunday night. When you get there, you find and
do I get invited or do I force my way?
You crash it.
Or do I force my way in and then get yelled at by? What was that guy's name?
Oh God!
What was that player's name? Played for Orlando.
I know.
It wasn't Matt Harpring.
It was. Oh God! Are you sure it wasn't Matt Harper?
No.
But it was a white guy.
It was a tall,
yes,
good-looking white Orlando Magic basketball player, and I think he went to Georgia Tech.
It wasn't Matt Gukas, was it?
No.
All right, hang on. We'll get back to it.
Do you remember?
I do. I remember.
What happened?
I 1,000% remember. We'll get back to it.
I'm going to your party.
You get invited to this. It's a party. It's you, your friends, the whole thing. It's at a house.
It's not the commissioner's party, is it? Because we
shut up. We were never allowed to go. Yeah.
We had tickets.
We were invited. We weren't allowed to go. You have no car. You can't leave.
Okay.
Either the sound doesn't work the entire night. Doesn't get fixed. No sound whatsoever.
No sound where?
On the watching the Super Bowl.
Oh, Super Bowl party.
No sound. Okay. No sound at all.
Who's doing the game?
By the way, this is Fox, so it's it's Greg Olson and
Burkhardt,
Kevin Burkhardt. Yes.
Okay.
No sound. And by the way, because people have already tried it, you can't use your phone to get sound.
There's no sound.
There's no
you just have to watch the game
sound.
like it's a Spanish soccer game.
Or the party devolves into an explosive 3+ hour continued LeBron James, Michael Jordan GOAT debate.
I'll take the no sound.
Okay.
I'm good with that. I watch a lot of sports with no sound.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Continue to get me your responses at Glenn Clark Radio on
Plus
Twitter.
We all know it's LeBron anyway.
That's great. Right. Exactly right.
Why would we
debate?
Why would we sit around for 3 hours and talk about that?
Exactly right. Get me your responses at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, Facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio for Would You Rather Wednesday. Into hour number 2 of the program. Last night, Maryland falls to Michigan State. Our next guest was in studio for ESPN. He's been in studio for a few Maryland games throughout the course of the season. He is ESPN analyst Dalen Cuff, and he's with us now here on GCR. Dalen, it's Glenn and Drew in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Glenn, Drew, good to be on with you guys. Is not listening to Super Bowl that painful? I came in partway through the topic.
So the scenario,
it's not that difficult at all, right?
I know what you're saying, and people would point out like not having the broadcaster is not the end of the world, but it also means you don't hear the commercials.
Oh, please.
You don't hear Rihanna.
Four of those. Oh, well, wait a minute.
I
forgot about that.
You don't hear any of that
yeah, I forgot
either.
About that.
I do think it's a more relevant debate than people are giving it credit for.
No, I hear you.
Okay, I get what you're saying there, and I understand that you want to be part of the cultural conversation.
That's
the next day. So you got to watch the.
That's very important.
I get it, but here's my take on. I don't know what this says about me in recent. I'd say the last 9 or 10 months. I care a whole hell of a lot less about being part of the cultural conversation. I feel a lot better not being on Twitter, not scrolling through Instagram, just going about watching games, hanging out, talking to people like I enjoy, and moving on. I find it freeing in some regards to say, you know what? I don't know about that. You know what? I probably don't give a crap.
You're good.
You deserve a medal.
100%.
I just started watching Ted Lasso like a month ago. People think I'm insane.
By the way, I started watching White Lotus. This week, and I'm not going to make it to season 2. I have no idea what people are talking about. Dude, what?
See, here we go.
Dude, hold on. We've hijacked the show. Dude, this is what I miss. I don't need to be part of cultural conversation. I don't care what happened at the Grammys, but that is when you watch the whole season. This is how I describe that show to people. He wraps up, Mike White wraps up race, class, power, gender, sex, drugs, and love into a murder mystery to keep our small brains able to focus on these bigger issue topics and how they affect our world and how people interact. It is an incredibly smart show. Very well done. Oh. Give it the full lot. And I will say this, that guy Armand, if you haven't watched Armand go off the deep end yet, that guy is one of my favorite characters of all time. He's nuts.
Yeah, as soon as you said smart show, that excluded Glenn.
I want to give you I know we need to talk basketball.
What's it on White Lotus? What is
HBO.
It?
It's an
HBO
HBO.
It leaves me out.
All right,
I don't have cable.
I want to give you one more because we play this Would You Rather Wednesday game. It's a very silly game we play every week. I'm going to give you one more based on where you are by saying you can separate yourself from culture. I'm sure you're aware of Aaron Rodgers is going on this 4-day darkness retreat. I'm sure you've heard about that. Would you rather, you have lost a bet, we made it fantasy football, but you lost something. It requires you to either go on a 4-day darkness retreat. I mean, literally sit in a dark room by yourself, nothing, no phone, nothing, for 4 consecutive days. Or, I'm not sure if you're aware, Dalen, Tom Brady took a photograph in his underpants recently and shared it out on Twitter. you have to recreate the Tom Brady photo and send it to everyone in your phone. Which would you rather?
Wow, this is we don't know each other that well, so I'll answer the Aaron Rodgers one first. I am a social creature, and if I can't read something or talk to somebody or watch something, I'm gonna lose my mind. So going to solitaire is not okay. Now, when you look at let's be real. I like to be out in the sun, and there may be if my Instagram profile has enough shirts of me shirtless with it, then I'm fine doing the Brady thing. I'm doing the Brady thing tomorrow, happily. I don't care.
I'm starting to think that Dalen might just choose to do it. He doesn't have to lose the bet.
I'm the same way.
He might just recreate it.
I'm in.
Oh, man.
Dude, I am not going to go sit in the dark somewhere.
No,
I'm just
torture.
not.
Torture for 4 days.
Hell.
I'm out.
Right.
Hell.
All right, Dalen.
Let's just say this. I would not be master of my domain for any Seinfeld fans out there. That's the only thing I would do to occupy my time.
Not bad. Dalen Cuff is with us here on GCR. Hey, we are trying to figure this out. Maryland is not a very good team, right? We know that. They're one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country.
I don't know about that.
They're kind of a middle of the Big Ten team. They're a middle of, the top tier college basketball team. But our expectations were really low for this team with not a lot of depth and a first-year coach. I would say that, even after you see a night last night where they shoot for 3 for 22, but yet they somehow find themselves leading late in the game, I think it speaks to why most of us are very encouraged about not just the direction of this team right now, but the long-term prospects for Kevin Willard at the University of Maryland.
Yeah, when you're building a team and when you're first year as a coach, the most important thing is to have your foundational pieces. You're trying to build out a culture. What do we value? What are we about? And I think it was on display last night. And Kevin Willard's shown it throughout his career. His teams are tough. They're tough physically, tough-minded. There is an element of an ethos of a collective nature that they're going to battle together. And when they go down to 15-0, man, a lot of teams, and I mentioned this, I think, in one of our pops there at some point in time, you watch a team like Carolina that goes down Wake Forest earlier in the day, and just that team totally quit. They're more talented than Maryland. But they have an intangible thing that's in question, and has been in question for over a season now. And despite that run to the championship game last year, it doesn't erase some of the intangible flaws that group has. And as much as Hubert Davis is trying to correct them, it's about the guys on the team and how they view each other, how they view themselves. These dudes down 15-0, couldn't make a shot, kept battling on defense, eventually started to get something going and get back in that game, and actually kept it competitive in a game where they didn't play well. They just willed themselves into it. So if I were a Maryland fan too right now, it's been a roller coaster. Like you said, expectations aren't good. You have this great start. Then you get boat raced by a couple of tournament teams and good teams, and you wonder, where are we? And you go through a rugged Big Ten where you can't win on the road. That said, I still like what Kevin Willard and these guys are about. I like. Yes, do they need to make more jump shots? Absolutely. Do you need Dante Scott and Hakeem Hart? They started running more stuff for Hart, too, specifically to try to get him going. You need those guys to be more consistent, particularly on the road. You need certain things to happen for them to win basketball games this year. But as far as what he's building there, and I do think he's going to get it right, and he's going to get talented guys from the DMV to stay there and play there, he's the right dude for the job. And there's some good stuff they show that doesn't show up on film that's really important to starting a program in year one. But, yeah, they got to put the ball in the basket more often to win more games.
The interesting thing, down having now seen this unfold, both non-conference where you mentioned they got clobbered, and then the conference games where at home they've been very good, and on the road they've not been good, other than maybe that Purdue game where they almost beat Purdue in West Lafayette. They can't shoot the three. I think we all kind of know that. But the question for Willard is, what do you do? Do you abandon it? You don't really have a true big guy that you can disregard the perimeter. So how do you navigate that between now and the end of the regular season and get into the conference tournament? Do you abandon the three and just say, guys, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. We're giving them 10 or 12 empty possessions every time we come down the court and throw up a three? Or do you tell Don Carey to stay after practice 3 hours every day and get better somehow? I think it's if Maryland could shoot.
If they could just be a somewhat bad 3-point shooting
team. If they could get to the point where, and they've had a couple of games where they've been good, but we all know it's their Achilles heel. But if they could get to a point where they were half competent from the outside the arc, they could be a dangerous team in March.
They could. I mean, they're bottom 30 in the nation. I think they're like 30% from the three-point line.
Oh, they're terrible.
That is a huge issue. But the way they play, you can't, because you do. Part of their challenge is they have versatile players that you want to respect out to the three-point line that can put on the deck, like Dante Scott, that can go make a play. But he also, if you can play through him in the post, you can play through him in the elbow, the short corner, depends on when you can move him around and play through him at different times. and they have some matchup issues, and you need to exploit those matchup issues because you're not just going to throw Julian Reese the ball in the block. That's not going to yield you much fruit.
Right.
So you have to play this way. Really, what's critical for them is to get stops and at times be able to play in transition. I know they don't play fast, but you can be opportunistic when that ball off the rim and try to get ahead of defenses. But that's really hard to do in the Big Ten. Big Ten grinds you, and that's one thing. I go back to what was the Illinois game. I think that was in December.
Yeah, it was.
But that was a game played with teams that don't play in a typical Big Ten style, that don't have to have a plotting big or don't have to play slow or choose to play slow and can get up and down. And that game was played at pace. It was fun. There was shot making. That's where you wonder, and sometimes talking to Big Ten coaches off the record too in the last couple of years, when you get into the tournament, if you're more built to do that, you may have better success than teams that are built to play slow and play through the post and minimize possessions and minimize your margin of error. And that's why I think some of the Big Ten teams have struggled in league play. So I'm interested to see, no, they cannot abandon the three because part of what they have to do is space the floor, spread the floor, make teams guard you so you can then take guys off the bounce to get paint touches, to get finishes and drop off for Reese or finishes the rim. You have to have that. And I think teams still do respect it. The guys are closing out. They're not laying off dudes entirely. They're not clogging the lane. They're still closing out the guys to guard, which is important. So that's why you have to shoot it. You just got to make it. And you're right. There's no element of let's keep shooting after practice. There is sometimes you hope guys stop thinking so much and just let it fly. Because Hart can shoot it. Young can shoot it. Johnson can shoot it. You got to let it fly at times. But as soon as you're in your own head, and I know this intimately as a shooter, you're screwed. As soon as you start thinking about stuff, you're in a real bad spot.
Yeah, remember Bull Durham, don't think meat, just pitch.
Right, just do.
Yeah, exactly.
A great point. Dalen, I feel like one of the better things that Maryland has going for him is that outside of Purdue, and again, Maryland held Purdue to their lowest out point of the year, I think when they arrive in College Park next week, Maryland's going to have at least a puncher's chance at winning a game against Purdue. But outside of Purdue, it doesn't seem like anybody else in the Big Ten is going to run away. It feels like
Ohio State suddenly is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana's won a couple of games, but just lost to Maryland in College Park last week, right? Like, it feels like you're going to be right in the mix come the Big Ten tournament, that every single one of us is going to look around and say, well, we think it's Purdue by default, but hell, it could pretty much be anybody after that outside of, Minnesota, Nebraska.
Yeah, I think that's what I said this last night to your boy SGP on his show. The thing about the Big Ten is it's hard to judge teams because the home win percentage is so high, second in the nation, and the venues are great. It makes it hard to play there, and a lot of the teams are solid. So when you're solid, you go on the road, you usually don't win because you need your role players to be really good to win games in the road, and that doesn't always happen. They're usually better at home than they are on the road. And the crowd helps. The guys in stripes, the ladies and men in stripes make a difference at home. All that stuff factors, and you're seeing that across the league. That there are a lot of solid teams, and there's one very good, potentially great team in Purdue. That said, Indiana I think does give you the best chance at playing and making a run or deeper into March out of the Big Ten because they have balance, and a team that could I think win the Big Ten tournament. To your question, they're more balanced than some of these other teams we're talking about. We mentioned some Maryland's deficiencies. Iowa, we know, can score, really struggle to guard. Rutgers has the inverse of that. Michigan State, almost nothing comes easy. Illinois has been inconsistent, but I like some of their pieces, but they've been inconsistent. There's glaring weaknesses with every team, minus Purdue, but I do think this is going to be a very fun. I think the Big Ten, the Big 12 is going to be even a 7-10 game in the first round could be a great game. The ACC is going to be wide open. Those three tournaments in particular are going to be I don't know who's going to win. And I think that's really what's interesting. I include Purdue in the Big Ten in that because I don't think they're untouchable. I think they're very good and they're hard to beat, but as they prove it in league play, whether home or road, they can be tested. And partially because the way they play, how they have to play, and at the pace they play, you can stick with them and you can beat them.
Before we let you go down, I'm not going to ask you to give advice because I get it. Everybody's got to make their own decision. But I want to put you're in Jameer Young's shoes, right? You have proven yourself at the highest level of college basketball, but you have this option to take an extra year to come back, be on a really good team. You're never going to be an NBA player given your limitations size-wise. I mean, I say never. Of course, nothing's impossible, but the likely scenario is you're not going to end up being an NBA player. You can go make money, obviously, playing in Europe or maybe in the G League, but you can now make money with NIL being in college. Like, how tempted would you be, knowing the foundation that you guys have laid, knowing the talent that's coming in, and the opportunity to maybe have like a special final season of college basketball, to take that extra year and stick around for a fifth season in college?
If I were him, 100% stay for what you just mentioned there. Like the biggest difference between being a college player and a pro is a pro. And there's that atmosphere, that collegial atmosphere, that team, that campus. That's not there. And especially when you go play in Europe, a lot of guys I talked to, and when I look back, I wish I broke my foot a couple times my senior year. I chose not to keep playing in Europe. That's probably one of my biggest regrets in my life. You play till the ball stops bouncing, but in the best situation for you. Europe's going to be there. But when you're one of two Americans and you're playing in Holland or Italy or Germany, that's great, but your lifestyle is significantly different, and it takes an adjustment period. It's not for everybody. What he knows here is he's going to be at one of the premier institutions in the country, one of the best conferences in the country, at a place that loves the game, that he can get NIL deal, can be the lead guard on the team, and to your point, have a special last year, and then go do your next thing. He's not an NBA player, to your point. I don't think he maybe could be in the G League, maybe. Right. But he'll get paid to play the game somewhere. Let that happen professionally. Why don't you get paid to play in college for one more year and have fun and do it at a different level and do it with your boys or with this community that is definitely different and is not the same feel you're going to get in Europe and damn sure ain't the same feel in the NBA or the G League.
That's a great point. It's a great point. Not bad when you make that decision to not go to Europe to have an Ivy League education and looking good with your shirt off to fall back on, by the way, Dalen Cuff. I think it worked out for you.
I didn't go to the Ivy League.
No. I meant Dalen.
Oh.
You were close.
I just went to Penn for a basketball game the other night. Does that qualify me?
They almost kicked you out. They almost kicked you out when you walked in.
Does that qualify
so
me?
You don't belong here.
It's a heck of a game.
You can find him on Instagram, Dalen Cuff. He's not on Twitter, as he pointed out. I'm very jealous of that.
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I just try not to spend a lot of time on the cesspool. I'm there.
Good for you.
I'm there.
Good for you. Good for you. What?
Send Glenn a picture with your shirt off.
No, I found it on Instagram.
All
I'm
right.
good.
All right.
Is there anything else we can plug for you, man?
Friday night I'll be doing the ESPN 2 game. I think it's Dayton, St. Louis, a big game, 8 o'clock, and I'll be in studio all day Saturday per normal and just covering hoops. Wherever they tell me to go, I do it.
Love it.
Dalen, appreciate you, man. Thank you for doing this morning.
Anytime, guys. Be well.
Dalen Cuff from ESPN with us here on GCR.
I love how he snuck in and said, maybe even wind up getting paid to play college basketball still.
Well, I mean, they do that now. Like, it's not against the rules anymore.
Oh, we had a meeting recently at Coward Hall about NIL for high school kids.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, look.
What you can do, what you can't do, what you can say to the young men, what you can't say to the young men. It's unbelievable.
So this is a genuine question, just because I don't know the answer. Would you be allowed to make someone on your team a correspondent for DrewsMorningDish.com? Not saying you would or wouldn't. I just don't know if you allowed. I brought this up with Biff Poggi when he got the Charlotte job, because we know that Biff Poggi was paying out of his pocket to get players.
I would assume I do have the whatever you want to call it, the PDF, the pamphlet. I haven't read it. I have until a certain date to read it and sign off.
Is it about unconscious bias?
Yeah, right. No, this is one I actually have to pay attention to.
All right.
I don't think I can do that.
Okay.
I don't think I could do that.
Okay.
I mean,
I get it. It seems like
It seems
like
distinctly sort of weird.
Right.
But so does the fact that he could get $20,000 from
the
some
car
wash
dealership.
place.
Exactly right. 100%.
It's weird.
Hey, Eagles or Chiefs?
Oh, and they're trying.
Oh, I'm sure. I have no doubt.
Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
High school kids are trying to figure out a way.
Of course.
To get this.
Well, if they're good-looking kids, then they probably can.
Well, I mean, it doesn't even matter. They're all they're aware of it.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
why wouldn't they be?
Right.
Were you not trying to? What were you trying to do in high school?
Sneak beer into the football
exactly
games.
Right. Jamaican Blue.
No, little Stroh's 8-ounce bottles. We put them in our jacket.
Eagles or Chiefs?
Some guys did. I wasn't a big Stroh's fan.
Place your Super Bowl bets with your favorite team and pick from hundreds of fun prop bets. Thousands of dollars in special sign-up offers with the top sports books are available at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers now. Join the fun with great offers from FanDuel, BetMGM, Barstool, and more. We were talking LeBron this morning. Let's find out a little bit more about the guy and just how impressive this is from one of his former teammates. Maryland legend Joe Smith played with LeBron in Cleveland. He joins us next. Drew Forrester is here. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at over $60,000 and over $64,000 for lateral officers, with $10,000 signing bonuses available. Plus, cadets start at over $32,000. Great benefits are available like medical, dental, and vision insurance, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days per calendar year with no limit, career advancement to more than 20 specialized units, and more, with further incentives for military service members and veterans. A passion for service, a career for life. life with the Baltimore County Police Department. Find out more at joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. Must be a United States citizen, have a valid driver's license, and a high school diploma or GED equivalent.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and it's our annual Best of issue. On the cover, we recognize Orioles catcher Adley Rutschman as our 2022 Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, and he sits down with us to discuss how his arrival in Baltimore was simultaneous with the Birds' turnaround. Also inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of the year throughout the local sports scene. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
There's something for everyone this February at Laurel Park. Come watch live horse racing every Friday through Sunday and join us on Saturday, February 18th for the Winter Stakes Spectacular featuring 6 stakes races and $900,000 in purses, including the General George and Barbara Fritchie Stakes. The fun doesn't stop there. Stick around for our Winter Mardi Gras celebration with live music, delicious food and drinks, and a carnival atmosphere. Plus, don't miss out on President's Day holiday racing on Monday, February 20th. Visit laurelpark.com for more info. That's laurelpark.com for more. See you at the track.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
Back in here on GCR. Drew Forrester is here as we continue along on a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. Continue to get me your responses at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, Facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio for Would You Rather Wednesday. Hey, Stan's going to be back later this week. Had a little personal issue, so I had to postpone the first show that he was scheduled to do this week. But he will be back later on this week. For more at Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, and you'll be able to see it at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. You're doing a lengthy show on Sunday, correct? You're doing more golf on The Fan, right, aren't you?
Am I doing 12 to 2?
I think you are. You better check the schedule,
Holy
dog.
cow, that would.
I'm pretty sure I'm off on Sunday. And you're doing a lengthier show leading into prolonged Super Bowl coverage on 105.7 The Fan.
I hope that's not true, but okay. I'm checking right now.
All right, maybe you're not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're just doing a normal show. I could have sworn that I saw that on the schedule. Now I feel.
No, you might be right.
This is.
I don't ever look.
Always. You should maybe once peer at the schedule. I'm just going to suggest to you. You signed up for the gig. Maybe once peer at the schedule. Or, and I mean this, you can pay me $20 a week and I'll take care of this for you.
Jeez.
That's only $20. It's not a lot.
I mean, I'll do it. But I mean, now if I got to do an extra hour,
you got to prepare. I ain't helping you.
I got to dig in.
We're throwing a birthday party for my son on Sunday.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to be doing that ahead of the Super Bowl. We're looking forward to it. Anyway,
37-34 is the final, by the way, Philly.
Okay, I don't have a problem with
the script.
Oh, you got the script. It was sent to you.
You didn't see it? You didn't see it?
Oh, I did see it was floating on Twitter.
37-34?
37-34 in favor of Philly.
It's 24-11 at the half or so, 24-13 at the half.
Drew at noon for sure. I don't know whether or not it's going to be until
right
1 or 2, but Drew at noon on 105.7 The Fan this Sunday for
something.
Fairways and
I mean, I would have at least been there already, and I would have got ready to leave.
Stay on,
and Caleb would have said,
"Hey, man, what about hour 2 of the program?
Where are you going?"
We'll have lots to talk about.
I'll check right now.
Let's talk a little bit more about LeBron James, who, of course, broke the NBA's all-time scoring record last night.
He did?
I don't know if you heard. They stopped the game for 6 hours. This man was a teammate. By the way, this man was everybody's teammate during the course of his career. I think he was Kobe's teammate at one point. He's LeBron's teammate at one point. And, of course, he's one of the greatest players in the history of the University of Maryland, a former National Player of the Year and #1 overall pick. The man Joe Beast. Sweet Pea, Joe Smith, is back with us now here on GCR. Joe, it's Glenn and Drew in Baltimore. It's always great to catch up with you, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Oh, man, no problem. It's always great to catch up with you guys and get a chance to chat sports with you guys. Thank you for having me.
Of course, brother. First of all, does anybody still call you Sweet Pea in your life? Does that still exist at all?
I giggled when you said that. I was like, I haven't heard that in years.
Yeah, I didn't think that was one that maybe you were still getting at this point in your life, but it was one of my favorites for the record. I loved Sweet Pea.
You know what? We had a issue with that though, because I'm from Norfolk and Sweet Pea Whitaker's from Norfolk, so I really couldn't take that one.
Okay, you had to leave it. You had to leave it for a legend. Well, I mean, you're a legend too. Wait a second, especially in Norfolk, aren't you a legend as well?
But out of respect for Purnell, he had it first. So out of respect for Sweet Pea Whitaker, I decided to leave that one alone.
That dude was a hell of a fighter.
Yeah, I was going to say. It's kind of hard to take the name away from a fighter.
Right, like he can legit. He's definitely going to knock you out. Right.
I know you're a big guy, Joe, but I don't know that I'd be going. I don't know that I want Sweet Peas texting me and saying, "Hey, boss, about that nickname there."
Yeah, I didn't want those problems at all. Not at all.
I know it wasn't for a long time, but you spent part of a couple seasons alongside LeBron James, and obviously by that point in his career, we already knew the dude was legit. We already knew he was a star. Did you, if I had gone back to 2008 Joe Smith and said, the guy that you're playing with right now is going to end up being the greatest scorer in NBA history, is going to win 4 titles, did you know then that, would you have said, yeah, that sounds about right?
The title part, I'd say that sounds about right. I mean, as far as winning 4 titles, I thought he may have had, 1 or 2 more, by this time, but he ran into some tough Warrior opponents, but the title part, I felt very, very confident that he would win some titles. Now the scoring, because of the way he played and how unselfish he is with the basketball and how he loves to get his teammates involved, I didn't think he would get the scoring record, and that's why I'm so proud of him and so happy that I was a part of that journey with him, because that's something that I don't think anybody saw at that time. Him breaking the scoring record. Anybody that in the league that time really saw him accomplishing that goal.
I feel like there are people that are trying to maybe diminish the accomplishment by suggesting it's really a story about longevity more than anything else. And I say back, I think we're kind of missing the point of how insane. I know the Lakers aren't good this year. Like, I understand that, but the dude is 40 years old and is still playing at this insanely high of a level. I'm turning 40 this year, and I wake up in the morning and I hurt, right? And I don't do anything physical. How incredible is it for you just to watch that side of it? Like, how good the dude has continued to be this deep into his career, this deep into his life.
I mean, it's incredible, and goes back to the years that I played with him. And I really noticed how he took care of his body, how he worked out all the time, and the things he did off the court, and how he ate, and how he really, really, really took care of his body even then. So now with all the new technology and all the things that he's learned over the years, he's really done a great job of keeping up his body. And like you say, normally about this time in someone's career, they're dealing with a knee injury or something that's kind of starting to fall apart a little bit. But with LeBron, the way he's taking care of his body and how he's done throughout the years, I think that's what's really a credit to how he's playing now. I mean, he's still averaging over 30 a game and still going out every night and being one of the top players in his league, which is has a lot of young talent now, and he's still the top name in his league.
Joe, there's probably only one thing left for him to do, and I don't know how, I don't know if he's going to be around long enough to make it happen, but deep down he wants to play with his son, right? You would assume.
Definitely.
He definitely wants to tee it up at least 1 year or a game or something with his kid. I mean, that would be pretty remarkable, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that'll be the the fairy tale end to the story. Having his son playing along either alongside or against his son in the league in the NBA, and I think that's what made that moment special last night as well. Seeing his two boys on the baseline and seeing him being able to celebrate with them and the family and the Lakers fans, and I think that's why he really wanted to get it out of the way. You could tell early that he wanted to get that record over with and knock it out the box, and I think he wanted to do it because of his kids and being able to play, like I said, alongside or against his son. I think that'll be the fairy tale end to the story.
He is Joe Smith. He's with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Joe, Drew brought something up earlier in the show that, you had a spotlight on you, obviously, right? You're National Player of the Year, you're number one pick, but as big as that spotlight was, I mean, it's a millionth of the spotlight that's been on this dude, right?
Exactly.
This is the biggest spotlight that's ever shown, arguably in the history of basketball, given the era that we're talking about, given social media and all of those things. And yet he's handled himself largely, overwhelmingly as a quality role model, as a guy that has had very few missteps in any way, despite being under the greatest magnifying glass that maybe we've ever seen an athlete be under. Knowing what you know about him from the time you were around him, again, how amazed are you by that? But do you have any sort of insight into why he has been able to avoid missteps so much in the course of his career?
I credit that to his mom and his upbringing, because he came into the league mature beyond his years. We all knew about the talent that he had on the basketball court, but he was mentally more mature than any 18, 19-year-old that was coming into to the NBA at that time. Years ahead of his time, and you grow, you learn, you experience things on and off the court as you go throughout your NBA career. And LeBron has always been a team first type guy, a guy that always loved to see his teammates succeed, love to see his coaches succeed, and love to see everybody around him succeed. And that's the way he carries himself off the court, as you notice with the guys that came up with him. They're even in big business positions right now because of some of the things that LeBron has done. And
they're dating Adele because of it. He's managed to create celebrity relationships.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's just the type of mentality he has. And he cares a lot for everyone. I mean, not just anybody in sports, but for everyone. He cares a lot about what goes on in our communities. He cares a lot about what goes on in his world. And he has no problem with, making a statement or stating his opinion on how he feels about things.
Joe, is there anything at all, this is kind of the dumb question for a guy who just set the record last night, but is there anything at all that, as a player, he does that's underappreciated?
His unselfishness is very unappreciated. I heard a lot of stuff throughout his career about him passing up shots or him not being putting himself in a position to take final shots or being the one to take the final shot or things like that. But I feel, in my opinion, that he was just making the best basketball play at that time and at that given moment. And it was up to the teammate or whoever it was to be able to knock down the shot. But his unselfishness is something that people overlook and people really take for granted.
I feel like there's some irony in the fact that he's the greatest scorer in the history of the NBA, and yet his most iconic play ever was a block, right?
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something about that that's just really, like, there's Michael Jordan, it's all shots, right? Like, all of the iconic plays in Michael Jordan's history.
Craig Elo.
Right,
Right.
And Russell, of course. Like, everything you think of Michael Jordan is a shot, and yet the singular most iconic play in the history of LeBron James' career is a defensive play, right?
And that's what people underestimate. People underestimate his speed and his willingness to get after the ball. Because I know it was a few times when I was in Cleveland, and he would come down on defense and he'll make a tremendous block like that, and he'll fall out of bounds, and we're going down court in transition, and all of a sudden he's down there dunking the ball. And I'm like, how did he get from out of the cheerleaders. He fell into the cheerleaders. Then all of a sudden he's beating everybody down court, dunking the ball. And people underestimate how quick and well, they know how athletic he is, but how fast he can get up and down that court.
It's remarkable. It's remarkable. Joe Smith, have you had an opportunity at all to watch any of the Terps this season? Have you been able to connect at all with Kevin Willard or get to know the sort of change in the program? It's not perfect, but it seems like they're laying a pretty good foundation there.
Oh yeah, that's definitely. I've been watching, and I like where we're heading. I like you say, the foundation is going to take some time to put everything together, but I think the foundation is good, and I like his coaching schemes and his coaching how he handles the players and how he's able to communicate with the players. And I think that's very key and something that's really missing a lot out of the college basketball game is how they communicate with these players and be able to get the best out of them. And I think that's what he's doing, and that's what he does a great job doing.
I mean, they're obviously buying in defensively, right? Like, they're selling out. Like,
exactly.
They couldn't make a shot last night, and somehow they erased a 15-point deficit on the road.
If they could shoot threes at all, they'd be a top 15 team.
It's remarkable.
I agree.
It's unbelievable.
That's how the game has changed, where you have to be able to knock down some three-point shots nowadays. And that's it. And defensively, like you said, they bought in, and they get after it defensively. But you have to be able to knock down some three-point shots in order to win some games nowadays.
All right, so this is a great question. This comes in from Dan. Dan says, Glenn, you mentioned all of the players that Joe Smith has played with. Of course, remember he did a TV show with Alex Rodriguez. He wants to know, what does your autographed jersey collection look like? Whose autographed jerseys do you maybe have at home?
I have quite a few.
Can you run down like your top five for us? Like your top five, like most amazing autographed jerseys that you have.
I have obviously Kevin Garnett. I have obviously Kevin Durant, LeBron. I didn't get Kobe. We didn't play together but so I know exactly. I've heard about that one. I did get Kobe. I have Russell Westbrook's. I have Magic Johnson.
I mean, okay. I mean, that's a pretty good five. Right? That's a pretty remarkable five, Joe. Not bad at all. At JoeBeast95 on Twitter is how you follow him. What do you have going on these days, Joe? What can we plug for you, man?
Oh, man, I have my basketball academy going on. I've been doing my training in Norfolk, Virginia, actually Virginia Beach, Virginia, where I'm doing my skills development and mentoring down there. So if you guys want to follow me, it's Joe Smith Basketball on Instagram, and like he just said, at JoeBeast95 on Twitter. So please follow me, and I'm keeping everybody posted on all my training and what I'm doing with the youth in the community.
Awesome, man. Joe, really appreciate you taking the time for us this morning.
Smith.
I never take for granted as a kid that absolutely loved watching you play basketball growing up, how cool it is that you've been so
man, I appreciate it.
So good with your time for us. Look forward to doing it again soon. Thank you for doing this morning.
Oh yeah, no problem. You guys have a great one, and thanks for having me.
Joe Smith, one of the great players in Maryland basketball history, of course, former teammate of LeBron James.
Dude could be an all-time top 10 guy. Like, he could be an all-time.
I don't know. What do you mean by that?
Just calls in, talks.
Oh, I mean,
pleasant, nice, answers the questions.
And by the way, and someone like
be an all-time
Griffin had Joe Smith's career became, I don't want to say punchline, but he became a journeyman,
he
right?
Like 12 different teams.
Exactly right. Like you compare it to Josh Johnson, you compare it to.
By no means did he have a bad career.
Not at all.
I guess what people would say was, he didn't for a first round guy.
A number one overall.
Yeah,
there's a big difference between him and Kwame Brown, right? Like he was
in the same way that there's a big difference between him and Durant.
Exactly right.
Right.
All right. 100% correct.
That's a good.
But someone like Griffin has no idea how good Joe Smith was as a college college basketball player.
He was a rock star.
He was
one of the three best players in the country. I think
easily he was one of the three best players in the country. I mean, it was a Naismith Player of the Year, obviously.
Right.
Like he was a number dude.
But I mean, if you took his composite in that period of was it 3 years, right?
I thought he was 2 years. Maybe he played for 3. Maybe, I thought he only played 2
Yeah, maybe he did.
93, 94, 95. Yeah, 2 years.
Okay, 2 years. He There was an argument he was the best player.
It was nuts, man. It was nuts how good Joe Smith was. Great to catch up with him.
Imagine if he'd have been at Duke.
Anything outside of you?
I gotta go.
I know you gotta go play. You gotta go. That's what you're leaving with.
That was my final shot.
You're gonna hop off with that.
Man.
You got a prop bet that you like on Sunday? I know you're not really the betting type, but you got one.
I'd like the Eagles to. I mean, I like the prop bet wise. I don't know. I like the Eagles to win. Field goal. I mean, not sorry. I don't know why I said that. I like the Chiefs to win. Field goal, 26-23, something like that. I think they're going to win. Prop bet. I'll say that there will. I'm sure you can get this. I'll say there's going to be a defensive score.
Ooh,
of some sort.
I like that. I like that one. That one's juicy. I got to figure out what the odds are on that, but I might bite.
I'll say there's a defensive score.
And who's getting into the Hall of Fame?
I gotta go. Read me the names real quick.
Darrelle Revis.
Yes.
Joe Thomas.
Yes.
Willie Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, but they can't all get in.
Keep going.
Torrey Holt.
Is there a 5? Is it still a 5?
I think it's 5, yes.
Keep going.
Torrey Holt.
Should but won't.
Reggie Wayne.
Is this his second year?
Yeah, it might be his third year.
Keep going. Should but won't.
Devin Hester.
No.
Andre Johnson.
No.
Wow.
I mean, all these guys should get in, but
Jared Allen.
Recency bias is going to help him a lot.
DeMarcus Ware.
Yes, but again, like
they can't all get in.
I know.
Zach Thomas.
Yeah. Yes, but no. Go.
Dwight Freeney.
Yes.
Albert Lewis, who I have no idea. I think this is one of these last
he was the guy from the NFL
year,
Network.
yeah, right. Last year on the
right. No.
Rondé. But by the way, every time they put somebody in, like this is Sam Mills last year. Like for some reason, if they put you through to this point, it's because there's been some sort of like backroom deal to get somebody into the Hall of Fame. Rondé Barber.
No.
Patrick Willis.
Yes. But again,
he's not going to,
he doesn't have to get in now.
Right, I understand.
He's getting
but
in.
He's definitely a Hall of Famer. Darren Woodson.
No.
So 5 guys.
So I'm going to say the 5 are Freeney is a 1, no doubt. Who was the first guy you mentioned?
Revis.
Revis is a definite.
Thomas.
Definite.
And then you got to pick 2 more.
I would say for me it would be Willis and Wayne. Okay. But I can make an argument for a bunch of those.
I would
guys.
just say one of the 3 receivers. They're all to me.
Yeah.
I don't care which one it is.
I think Torrey Holt should be in there, but
yes.
It's hard to put him in and not put Reggie Wayne in.
I hear you. Andre Johnson, I think, absolutely
and Andre
is
Johnson's
deserving.
Same thing.
Like any of those 3 receivers to me.
If you went to Miami in the 80s or 90s,
correct. You should probably be in the Hall of Fame.
You're in.
If you manage to come
Andre
out
Johnson in. Reggie Wayne in.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you.
All right,
At It's a Hooded Firearm on Twitter is how you follow him. DrewsMorningDish.com is where you see all of his stuff. Today's show also brought to you by the print issue of Press Box, which is still available for about another week. It is our best of 2022 issue of Press Box. On the cover, Adley Rutschman, our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year. Go pick it up for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. Why don't we quickly? When do you want to give? You want to? Let's us go through our responses for Would You Rather Wednesday. By the way, got a ton of great feedback on our chat with Sammy Siragusa yesterday. I appreciate that, and I mean this wholeheartedly. I'm a little embarrassed when I come off emotional, right? Like I do get a little embarrassed by that. I have admitted openly that like becoming a father has changed me in the exact way that everybody thought it was going to change me. They told me that it was going to change me, and I am softer because of it. And things like that, stories about relationships between parents and kids, especially somebody like Tony Siragusa, who I got to know and, of course, revered before that as a fan, they impact me. And I'm kind of over trying to hide it at this point in my life. I'm about to be 40 years old. Why do I need to prove to anybody that I'm a tough guy, right? Like, I'm not. It's very clear. So I do. I feel a little silly when I get emotional during a conversation. I feel a little bit silly about that. So I do appreciate it.
I don't think you should. I mean, I think it's really, really. I mean, it shows how real you are.
It's not about whether or not I should. It's just I'm gonna feel silly when I'm sitting here. Like, this isn't. I knew Tony Siragusa, but I'm not talking about one of my best friends, right? Like, I'm talking about somebody that I knew and I just had great reverence for and enjoyed and was a fan of before I got into this business, right? Like, when I was just a kid, that was my senior year of high school, the year that the Ravens won the first Super Bowl. I skipped school to go to the parade, the whole thing. I was a fan of Tony Siragusa's, I ended up getting to know him, not like, other people in this business did, but I got to know him. I had conversations. He would come on the show over the years. He would, I did a couple of events with Tony Siragusa. I liked Tony Siragusa, but, not even as close as I am, with some other players over the years, right? When Brandon Williams was on last week, you guys heard, like, I have a true reverence and a genuine affection for Brandon Williams, and every time I think about him, stealing my son away from me when my son was a baby and saying, I'm going to feed him, and he's just sitting there, the joy in his face of holding my son and feeding him a bottle, that's going to mean something to me for the rest of my life. And, yeah, I'm biased. Like, that's the way it goes. But when I go through something like that, there's a part of me that later in the day I'm like, God, I really wish I could have kind of kept it in check a little bit. And so it does, and I'm just being as genuine as I can. It means something to me when you guys message back and are like, hey, I really enjoyed that conversation. I appreciate you doing that. That was a really neat way to spend, 15 minutes today. Just notes like that. We do something that's a little bit different, obviously. You got to go out of your way to find what we're doing. Sometimes you wonder how big the audience. It's nice. It's nice, and I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful when you tell me you don't like something, because at least, again, you're listening, right? Like, it's fine. I never understand it. It's the joke that I always make. I was talking with my buddy Charlie, the engineer over at 105.7 this week, and I'm like, I always said, I'll never in my life understand somebody who calls into a radio station and says, I don't like the topic you're talking about. Like, just change the channel. I never called the Oprah show to say, but this is a dumb guest, Oprah. Like, I'll never understand that thought process. You can just change the channel. But I appreciate you guys reaching out. It feels good, and we got a lot of feedback about our chat with Sammy Siragusa yesterday, and I really enjoyed it, and we're going to look to try to do stuff with that group moving forward. And please support Goose Flights. It's a wonderful thing that they're doing. All right, let's get into Would You Rather Wednesday really quickly. Number one, would you rather Baltimore Ravens make a reasonable trade, nothing more than a third-round pick, for DeAndre Hopkins, or, provided he gets cut by the Chargers, which momentum seems to be that they are at least considering it, they sign Keenan Allen?
This one's really tough. I think, I guess you're inclined to say whichever one might be cheaper, which I guess would be Keenan Allen. I still think there's going to be he's going to be a large demand for Keenan Allen's services. Keenan Allen's services. I don't think it's just going to be like picking him off the scrap heap. I think that if Keenan Allen is released, there will be no shortage of teams that will be looking to bring in Keenan Allen. I think you mentioned Keenan Allen missed 7 games because of injury last season. I think at this point in time, DeAndre Hopkins is probably has a little bit more left in him and is slightly healthier. I think the fact that he was suspended last year, kind of helps almost, like that he's got maybe another 7 games in him than Keenan Allen does. And so I think,
for what it's worth, as much as we see Keenan Allen like listed on the injury report, he played before last season. He had played on at least 13 games every year since 2017.
Yeah, he's like one of my favorite fantasy guys. I traded for him. I traded for Mike Evans and Keenan Allen.
I have talked a lot over the years about how we don't respect the career that Keenan Allen has had, in large part just because he doesn't run his mouth. Like, that we don't. I always get nervous about comparing someone to Anquan Bolden, right? Because we revere Anquan Bolden in a way in this town that we almost hold him on a pedestal, and so when we make the comparison, it's tough. But in a lot of ways, Keenan Allen has just been a tough dude who catches the football, who doesn't, he doesn't get nearly the same amount of attention because he's not a diva. He's not a, he's just a tough football player.
Yeah, and for that, I think he might be better. What the Ravens are at might help the Ravens more, like in what they're looking for in a receiver. Because I feel like DeAndre Hopkins is kind of, as much as we don't know about Rashad Bateman, I feel like Bateman and Hopkins are very similar. And Allen can play in the slot. He'll run. He can run. Those quick slants. He catches the football, and he's going to do that. I mean, obviously DeAndre Hopkins catches the ball too. Gotta pick one. I feel like we can't really go wrong with either. I guess I'll say Keenan
Allen. This is all over the place. Sean D-Hop, because Keenan can't stay healthy. Lucy D-Hop all day. Feel like he's more consistent than Allen. My guy Oriole.
Well, I
feel like Keenan Allen is
almost the epitome of consistency. You're right. Like that's
when he plays, he plays.
Right.
Like,
I would say that Diop would be more explosive
Yeah.
than Keenan Allen. But yes, to the word consistency, I'd probably disagree with that. My guy, Orioles idiot, Hopkins, if we can get him for a third rounder or less, well, I did say that. It would be no more than a third rounder, so that's part of the premise of the concept. Paul from Orlando, I can't overlook not having to give up a current pick or lose a comp pick. Of course, because if Allen was cut, then it would not impact your compensatory pick solution. That's kind of the Ravens' history. They love signing players who get cut instead of true free agents. So I'm signing Keenan Allen after he's cut and crossing my fingers that I can get at least 14 games out of him next season.
Take that.
100%. From Jesse, I'm intrigued by both wide receiver options. Hopkins for a third, though. Tough to pass that up. Only reason to go Keenan Allen would be cap space. Again, I
think it'll be similar.
I think that ultimately it'll be similar. I get it. Like the difference being that you can create a new contract for Keenan Allen, whereas you have to accept DeAndre Hopkins' contract, except that I think that everybody believes you're going to be creating a new contract for DeAndre Hopkins as well, should you trade for him. So I don't know how much you're really doing there, honestly. John Proctor, I think Hopkins is the better wide receiver, but would take Allen if it meant no draft capital was lost happily. Well, that would be the scenario. Dave says, to me, Keenan Allen is the better fit. He just sort of feels like he should have been a Raven, kind of like when Steve Smith arrived.
I think you could take some pressure off Mark Andrews, too, having Keenan Allen, because he played the slot a lot. And
Okay.
I'm talking myself into definitely Keenan Allen.
I think Keenan Allen is it's just sort of, I actually, there's something to be said for that. Like, feel like he seems like a Raven.
Yeah.
He seems like a dude that, like, when he's told you got to go lay a block, he's not going to say, like, nah. He's just going to do it. He's a tough player. He feels like a Raven. I'm kind of in on the Keenan Allen argument. All right, number 2, you've lost your fantasy football league this year.
Never.
Would you rather? No. The penalty is that you have to do an Aaron Rodgers-style 4-day darkness retreat. Or penalty is you have to take a Tom Brady-style thirst trap photo, make it your profile pic until the start of next season, and send it to everyone in your phone.
Man. I mean, yeah, the darkness retreat sounds.
By the way, non-zero chance we try to do something with this. I would like tomorrow. We're just going to do a Super Bowl pick. That's the only thing that counts, and obviously there's nothing left to play for in our picks contest.
Do like coin toss.
But no, I suggested we collect a group of prop picks, and we do that as well. But we need a side bet for it, and I'm not opposed to the side bet being related to one of these scenarios, either the Tom Brady photo or not a 4-day, of course, darkness retreat, but maybe like a 4-hour darkness.
How are we going to enforce that?
Well, we'd have to do them here. We'd stick them in John Colson's office or something like that. And it had to be complete darkness. Maybe that back closet. Like, stick somebody in the closet for 4 hours and record it and just see when they start losing their mind. Like, something like that. Now, Aaron Rodgers did point out he can just leave whenever he wants. Yeah. That would be the problem with this, is that if we only do 4 hours, I think we'd have to say, like, you can't just leave or else you didn't pay the penalty. I don't know. I'm not there yet.
I mean, I guess the Brady thing.
Because
it's easier to do. Also, I know I won't lose, so I don't really care.
No. Now you just this dumb stuff that you say. Like, you have to do one of these two things. Which are you doing?
Okay. Man, a 4-day darkness retreat.
No phone, no books,
no books,
nothing. Like, just you and your thoughts in the dark.
Is that what Aaron Rodgers is doing?
That's what Aaron Rodgers is doing.
He's like sitting in a room. He's not going to the beach. Like,
no, he's sitting. By the way, he's paying to do it. He pays someone for this experience.
To make sure he doesn't.
Probably a good amount of money. You are sitting by yourself in a room. The only thing that happens is, maybe 3 times a day, whatever it is, someone slides in some food to you, like you're in jail.
I mean, I'm not. I guess I don't. Feel like I need to show off my body as much as Dalen Cuff does, but I'd be fine with that. I'd do the Tom Brady thing.
I would have. To me, it's not even close. I would have to do the Tom Brady thing because the darkness thing. I would go insane.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to some. You guys' responses on this are nuts. I would absolutely, within for the 4-hour thing, I think I could do because I just take a nap. Like, that's all it would be. It's not really. It's, in fact, sign me up. And that's what a lot of people are pointing out is, like, I made a joke about it. I said, hey, look, as someone who just took 2 small kids to Disney, I'm actually kind of intrigued, right? Like, we can all use a bit of a break, but this doesn't become a break. And Sean, at her point, retreat, I would even stay extra days. I don't think that's true. Ivan,
maybe they think they're gonna be like taking ayahuasca and I guess on drugs.
But I think that's the point of this.
Right.
Is that you're very clearly not supposed to do drugs or drink. Like, it's just supposed to be you and your thoughts. But the point, like, according to Aaron Rodgers, is that, like, the people that do it think that they have visions, that by doing it this way,
they're just going insane.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Ivan, how is this even a question? Take the Brady-style pick. If I lose and the others in my league need to be traumatized by seeing me like that, that's actually penalizing them more than me. Danny, 4-day darkness retreat without question. I got a lot of questions. Orioles idiot. I'd be pretty sick of the darkness around hour 30 or so. Yes. I don't even know if I would make it that long. Yeah. So I go with the thirst trap, assuming the beachfront condo comes included. No. Lucy, hello, darkness, my old friend. This is insane. Sports and law fan. I'm sorry. I don't know who you are, sports and law fan. Let me know. Call me crazy. I think I would enjoy the darkness retreat. No way. Sean, the darkness retreat sounds kind of fun. What is...
Because he thinks he's going to be on ayahuasca.
Sigh. Why, Glenn? Why would you do this to us? Because it's Would You Rather Wednesday. I'll do the Aaron Rodgers thing, I guess, if I have to. But, I mean, really? Yeah, well, that's the reason why these are questions. Jesse, it was a tough call until you threw in the send it to everyone in your phone bit, so I guess I'll take the torture. I mean, like, I don't even know who I'd be. Like, I guess I'd be worried about everybody in my phone. No, that's not true. I got a lot of famous people on my phone. Never mind. That would probably not be great. Nah, I'd still do it. What the hell? I mean, like, do you think that there's any chance that Joe Flacco is even going to text me back about it?
Can you preface it and be like, I lost a bet? Picture set.
Well, afterwards you can. Yeah, 100%. Like, afterwards you could say that. But there would still be some people that would probably be disturbed by it. John Proctor, darkness retreat sounds dull, although it'd probably be restful. Don't want to have to use vacation days for that, though, so the picks are incoming. And number 3, would you rather you go to a Super Bowl party Sunday night and you find out there's no sound? No sound at all. No other way around it. No, you've got to watch from start to finish. No sound whatsoever. Proctor and I actually went to a Super Bowl party once, and when we showed up, there was no sound. And we, like, spent the first 20 minutes of the game harassing everyone at the party about fixing the sound. So I'm telling you.
Purposely they had the sound off?
No, it was just whoever was, like, in charge. It was at a hall. It was not at a house. It was at, like, a lodge or something like that. It was a charity thing, and I was happy to be a part of it. The food was good. You know, there were cornhole boards. Like, it was fine. And I wanted to support the charity, but the game started, and, like, what the heck? Where is the sound? We want to, like, what the hell's going on? So, like, we had to harass people and get the sound turned on. So no sound whatsoever. Yeah. Not getting fixed. Entirety of the night, from start to finish. If it's the most thrilling Super Bowl of all time, there's a hotly debated call at some point. You will not be able to hear about it. Or you get to the party, sound works just fine, but you and a bunch of folks, whoever it is, at some point very early on in the night, it devolves into a debate about Michael Jordan and LeBron James, and it goes on for 3+ hours.
So is this an unstoppable debate? Like, you know, Rihanna's on. Take 12 minutes to watch Rihanna. And then we're back to LeBron and MJ, or
no? I said it was 3 hours. 3+ hours.
Yeah, but like no one. I mean, you'll take a break, right? Like in this debate to watch Rihanna, and like when the big thing happens, you'll have the sound on.
No, well, I mean the sound will be on. You will hear it. But that still continues to go on. Like both things are happening at once. You can hear it, like you're aware of it, but you're also hearing in the background more LeBron, Michael Jordan nonsense. By the way, Proctor does point out that party that we went to, the highlight of it was that some small child accidentally created the best thing that's ever happened to cornhole, which is he lined 3 boards up back to back, and we created a game where you had to skip the bag off of both of the first 2 boards.
Oh, wow.
In order to score.
Did anyone do this?
Proctor and I played for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
Wow. All right. I mean, I'm going to join into the Jordan-LeBron debate, so that's essentially watch the Super Bowl muted, or I guess not watch the Super Bowl.
I mean,
because I'm going to be invested in this debate.
Why are you invested? Why do you care?
Because if someone's talking about LeBron and Jordan, on the other side of the room, I'm gonna have to give my input. So, man, but I do want to. I mean, I got to hear something. I got to hear Greg Olson's analysis at least once. I guess I'll do the debate.
All right.
The
question to me is which one of these actually qualifies as torture, right? Like when it comes down to this, like which one of these scenarios is the actual torturous situation? And I think it's the LeBron thing. I think that's.
I don't want to watch the commercial.
It's gonna stink. It's gonna stink to not be able to hear any of it. Like that will stink. I don't want that. I don't think I would feel tortured by it because again, you're gonna be around people and you can be talking and you can like. It's not silence because you're at a party. I think the other scenario at some point becomes legitimate torture. Like I think I'd be all right with it for like the first 20 minutes. Like, all right, fine. This is stupid, but I'll do it with you guys. But it's the thing where people just don't let it go. I think that becomes torture to me. So I think ultimately I'm going to have to take the silent one.
Yeah,
but
I guess it won't be torture to me because I invite the debate, honestly.
Why?
I don't know. I mean,
it's so boring. It's so dumb. There is oh God.
And I don't think other people can last 3 hours.
Well, I'm telling you that they will.
Well,
I'm
I'll
informing
outlast
you.
them. I'll end the debate. I'll be the end of the debate before
you're so
the game's over.
Stupid. John Proctor, no sound. Who needs it? Play a board game or something while you watch the game, and slap anyone who complains about not hearing commercials. They're effing advertisements. The point was made by somebody else. I think Chris said the commercials are all already on YouTube. I've basically seen all of them at this point. I do hate that. Like, as somebody who admittedly enjoyed Super Bowl commercials for a lot of my life, like just what's fun, what's silly, I do kind of hate the fact that they release all of the commercials. Like, I think the Breaking Bad one is on. Is available on YouTube right now.
I'm not going to watch it until.
And I try to avoid them, right? But like sometimes they just pop up on your social or whatever, so they've kind of all been spoiled by that point. Jesse, 3 hours of LeBron versus Jordan doesn't sound terrible. What's wrong with you? I've had worse debates. Well, that part the number of dumb things that I've ended up debating about. Like I do a professional wrestling podcast. I assure you, I know a thing or two about dumb debates. Very much at the top of the list. Paul from Overlando, I'll take no sound for the game. The other option being a lifelong Terps fan. At some point, I'd probably interject, well, if Len Bias hadn't died, he would have been better than Jordan and LeBron, no doubt in my mind. Okay, well, it actually sounds like you want to get into that debate, if I'm being honest with you. Lucy, no sound. Who listens to announcers at a party anyway? Well, again, and I pointed this out. Halftime, commercials, things like that as well. It's not just the announcers. Orioles idiot. I'll take the silence. General party chatter will fill the space. I'm not a big enough NBA fan to have a strong opinion either way, and nobody who does have a strong opinion is going to be convinced in either direction. Sean, not missing Rihanna, can't do it. I don't disagree with that. If I didn't get to yours, I apologize. There's a lot that came in. Good responses today. Continue to get me yours at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, Facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio. Somebody is going to pick up a $25 gift card to Glory Days Grill. We are winding down for a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. Don't forget, whether it's the Eagles or the Chiefs, whoever it is that you're feeling for Sunday night, place your Super Bowl bets for that team and pick from hundreds of fun prop bets. Thousands of dollars in special sign-up offers with the top sports books are available at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers now and join the fun with great offers from FanDuel, BetMGM, Barstool, and more. We'll come back in, get a tidbit and Tubi to wrap it up. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and it's our annual Best Of issue. On the cover, we recognize Orioles catcher Adley Rutschman as our 2022 Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, and he sits down with us to discuss how his arrival in Baltimore was simultaneous with the Birds' turnaround. Also inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of the year throughout the local sports scene. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at over $60,000 and over $64,000 for lateral officers, with $10,000 signing bonuses available. Plus, cadets start at over $32,000. Great benefits are available, like medical, dental, and vision insurance, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days per calendar year with no limit, career advancement to more than 20 specialized units, and more, with further incentives for military service members and veterans. A passion for service, a career for life with the Baltimore County Police Department. Find out more at joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. Must be a United States citizen, have a valid driver's license, and a high school diploma or GED equivalent.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/pressboxonline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know it's on Grindr or anything, I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
Sounded a little defensive, Paul did, about that. It was kind of weird how that worked out. Our buddy Josh Charles, I guess, is listening to yesterday's show today, and is going back and forth with me about my rant about Lamar Jackson coverage. I mean it. I was on with Tim Barbalace last night on The Fan. I'm like, dude, throw your phone in the ocean on Sunday. It is keep your head on a swivel. It's like if you went to see a rock band in like the year 2004 with your girl, and you know that at any moment it can devolve into not a mosh pit, but like a legitimate rugby match could just start at any point. And you got to protect her. You got to make sure she doesn't get hurt in the process. Like, that's how much you got to be paying attention on Sunday. You are going to be it's a minefield that you're going to be walking into of reports that will not actually be reports related to Lamar Jackson, because it's the biggest story in the NFL besides the game that's being played on Sunday night. It's one of the biggest potential personnel stories in the history of football, and everyone's got to have some action on it. And so all you're going to get on Sunday, every network, is anything related to Lamar Jackson. Anything they can find. They're all going to be tasked with, we need something Lamar Jackson. And there's not going to be any actual information, so they're just going to do their best to try to say something and present it in a different way and make it sound explosive and get a ton of attention and get you caught up in it. Just go for a hike. Go somewhere where there's no cell service. Plan your day on Sunday from 10 a.m. Maybe go to church. Discover church. If you go to like a satanic temple, if that's I don't care. That's what we do now, right? Sam Smith made us all Satanists. Isn't that the way that it worked? Let's do it, man. Go sign up. Then go find an elevation somewhere where there is no cell service. Go do something like that.
Darkness retreat?
Go on a darkness. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And then, because he said you can just walk out whenever you want to walk out. Walk out at 6:20. 6:20, walk out.
Well, the game probably won't start until like 7.
No, it starts. They kick it off right around 6:30. They start they say the game like now we're into game coverage at 6, but they still have to do the player introductions and the anthem and America the Beautiful and Walter Payton Man of the Year, whatever else they do before the game. And I like Chris Stapleton, so I'll watch Chris Stapleton sing the anthem, right? Like
over under. I don't know what the over under is on that.
I haven't thought about it. I have not thought at all.
Is that can that be one of our props?
We can try to make that one of our props. Sure, why not? 100%. Look, man. I'm just telling you, do not look at your phone. Do not look at Twitter, because you're not going to learn anything. You're going to be in the exact same place that you were, but all of it's going to get you caught up. You're going to start sharing it. You're going to start saying dumb things on Twitter. You're going to make yourself look like an ass because you're going to say something. They're $100 million apart. What the hell is going on? And like, none of it's all nonsense. just, again, go into the dark room on Sunday or make plans. We're doing my son's birthday party a week later on Sunday. I'm going to be hopping on trampolines and chasing down 8-year-olds and listening to them tell jokes about butts that aren't funny.
Well, that probably actually pretty.
No, they don't understand that a joke has to have a punchline. Like they'll be like, what do you call a butt with no crack, right? And I'll be like, I don't know what. And I'm thinking there's gonna be like a clever pun or something like that. And they'll be like, a no crack butt. Oh,
it's not terrible.
Oh, that's what I'm gonna be doing on Sunday. But it'll be perfect. That's what I need. I need anything but having to deal with all of this nonsense related to Lamar's contract. And we will get back to that when there's real news. All right, Tidbit is brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
I saw this stat the other day from Alex Fast on Twitter. It was about Cole Irvin and that he was one of the top 10
I think
pitchers.
regularly about Cole Irvin.
Yes. I like it a lot.
Ace, baby.
Yeah. But he was one of the top 10 pitchers last season when they elevated their four-seam fastball, and he had the most success doing it. He measured this by using weighted opponent batting average, and they threw at least 500 heaters and elevated more than 50% of the time.
I feel like this works better as a tweet than you trying to explain it to me.
Either way, he was top 10 and pretty good company. Luis Castillo was number 1 with a 131 WOBA. Irvin was 10th at 236, but he was top 10 along with George Kirby, Lance Lynn, Jose Quintana, Terrence Gore, Verlander, Nestor Cortez, Julio Urias, and Adrian Sampson.
I don't know who Adrian Sampson is.
On the Cubs. I
believe you. I never heard
he
that
beat
name.
the Orioles at one.
I believe you.
Yards.
Oh, it might be that the day that he pitched against them, we did an entire thing about who is this guy.
But yeah, so just Cole Irvin. I like
I'm not down on Cole Irvin. Like again, I'm not gonna oversell it. I think it was a decent move to make. I think it was a move that these Orioles would make. I think it was a solid, respectable addition of a major league pitcher, and who I expect to be a major league. I always get weird about what words I use in this situation. Quality, but quality in context, right? Like I don't think he's going to be. I think he's going to be better than Jordan Lyles, and we in a weird way, we think fondly of Jordan Lyles, despite the fact that his numbers weren't that good. Like
8 innings, man.
That was what he did. He 8 innings, and I think he can be a better version of Jordan Lyles. That sounds really good until you remember the bar is still like that was a 4.4 ERA, 1.4 WHIP. That's not really much of a bar.
Got through the game.
And we were appreciative of it because you needed somebody to give you innings, right? Like that's the story of Jordan Lyles. I think Kyle Gibson is supposed to be more of the innings guy for the Orioles, and they're hoping they are scratching the surface on Cole Irvin, taking a step forward as a quality pitcher. But I do think he will be better than a 4.42 ERA and a 1.4 WHIP. That's again not saying or 1.39 WHIP. That's not saying a lot. I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but I'm not down on Cole.
I'm just excited, and coming to now a pitcher's ballpark, Camden Yards, as a lefty, so he'll face a lot of righties in Camden Yards, and with Adley Rutschman. I know we talked about, maybe how much did the foul territory in Oakland. The day of the trade, we talked about that, but I'm still excited, and this excites me more. So.
Okay.
Also on this day, speaking of Orioles left-handers, on February 8th, 2008, Eric Bedard became a Mariner as Adam Jones and Chris Tillman and George Sherrill came
How about
over.
that?
Yeah.
Today, also on this day in history, was officially the day the NFL approved the Cleveland Browns' move to Baltimore. 1996.
Wow. So maybe February 8th?
Good day. Yeah, maybe we get something.
Here.
Maybe today could be the day that we get actual Lamar Jackson news, right? That would be swell.
And then also, with my final tidbit, I just want to see how well you knew the top 10 scorers in NBA history since after LeBron. So can you round out this top 10? And,
obviously, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar
is number 2. Yes.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan is. Do you want to guess where he is?
I think he's 5th.
He is 5th.
Karl Malone.
Karl Malone is 3rd.
So those are the ones that I knew from the top. I'm now after that. I'm saying I'm guessing. It's not really guessing as much as. Hang on. Like let's just. I believe that the other one in the top 5 is Kobe.
That is correct. Kobe is 4th.
So now, I know it's Carmelo Anthony because he moved in the top 10.
Yes, Carmelo Anthony is 9th. Let me count this out.
Right.
6. Yeah, 9.
I believe Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt Chamberlain is 7th.
And I want to say Dirk Nowitzki.
Dirk Nowitzki is 6th.
Okay. Now, I don't. I need 2 more.
You're looking for 8 and 9 or 8 and 10 on this list.
I don't think it's Durant. I think that we would have known.
It is
there would have been a bigger
deal.
Not
Kevin
made.
Durant. He is 14th.
All right, I'm going to write down a few names, and I'm going to say that I am convinced that I have the answer within these names. All right. I've got 4 names down.
Okay. Let's see. They scored between
Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaquille O'Neal is number 8 on this list between Wilt and
So I have a
Carmelo.
chance now to go
10 for 10.
9 for 9.
Or 9 for 9 because we know LeBron's on there. Looking for number 10. It is not Kevin Durant.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
It is not Hakeem Olajuwon. He is 12th.
Julius Erving.
It is not Julius Erving. Where is he? Irving is low in this.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, now I feel dumb. That didn't work out so well
He's got
for
less
me.
than 24,000.
What the hell?
25,000 points.
Oh, now I don't know how I feel about anything. Tim Duncan.
Not Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan in the top 20, but not the top 10.
Moses Malone.
Moses Malone is number 10, the Houston Rockets.
Damn it.
Elvin Hayes is 11th. Oscar Robinson is 13th.
Of course.
Durant,
Of course, Elvin Hayes is a former Baltimore Bullet, and Moses Malone, almost a former Maryland Terrapin. You don't know. That means nothing to you.
No.
Why did I even say that out loud? It means nothing
That's
to
pretty
you.
cool. That would have been awesome.
Moses Malone was committed to play at Maryland, but he just skipped college
skipped
altogether
college. Gotcha.
and went to the NBA.
Guess it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out okay for him. Ended up having an okay career, no doubt about it. The late, great Moses Malone. All right, damn, so close to going 9 for 9. I'm bummed about that. All right, Tubular is brought to you today by the print issue of Press Box. Again, like a week left for this one. Adley Rutschman on the cover. I'm Mo Gabba, Sports Person of the Year. Go get it right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms. Any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. Local teams at home tonight. UMBC hosts NJIT at 7 o'clock, and Navy hosts Bucknell at 7. Both those on ESPN+. Towson's back in action as they host Hampton 7 o'clock on Flow Hoops. God, they gotta get off of that. I know. God, it's so bad. Big Ten Network tonight. Nebraska, Michigan at 6:30. Wisconsin, Penn State at 8:30. With our guy Shon Morris on the call. Got Big Ten Network for both of those. And the rest of the college basketball you can find at glennclarkradio.com. NBC Sports Washington, Hornets, Wizards at 7. ESPN, Sixers, Celtics at 7:30. Mavs, Clippers at 10. TNT, Wild Stars at 8:30. The USA Network for Manchester United and Leeds United at 3. TBS for AEW.
Go Leeds, big game. They just sacked Jesse Marsh.
Oh, right. Yeah, I did know that.
They might get killed.
TBS, AEW Dynamite tonight at 8. Some non-sports highlights.
Speaking of the Super Bowl commercials, CBS is doing a greatest Super Bowls commercial special.
Can't miss that.
Hosted by Boomer Esiason.
Can't miss that.
At 8 o'clock. There's a new show called Not Dead Yet on ABC that's premiering tonight with Gina Rodriguez. She's a journalist. She's an aspiring journalist, and she gets put on the obituary beat, and she can talk to dead people.
Sure.
Jimmy Fallon's going to have Queen Latifah and M. Night Shyamalan. The Flash Season 9 premieres on the CW at 8. I was big into that when I was in high school. I can't believe there are 9 seasons already.
By the way, I'm to the final episode of Season 1 of White Lotus. I don't get it. Like, at least stuff started finally happening. Like,
text Dalen Cuff. We'll talk you through it.
At least, and I will give it that. After the first 3 episodes, stuff started to happen. Like legitimate stuff. I understand the commentary part of it, but it's not thrilling enough for me to be captivated that way, and it sure as hell ain't funny enough for me to be captivated that way. I just don't know what I'm supposed to be taking from this show. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
The new episode of The Bad Batch, Star Wars, of course.
Ah, yes.
And Netflix has a Bill Russell documentary.
Oh,
Bill
that's
Russell
right.
Legend.
That's right. Yeah.
Netflix.
I do want to
That
watch
is today.
that. All right. Very good. Thanks today to Drew Forrester for stopping by. Thanks to Shon Morris, Dalen Cuff, talking some Terps with us. And thanks also to Joe Smith for talking to us about LeBron James. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God. It's so good.
tab at glennclarkradio.com. Anything?
Dan Hughes.
Dan and Hughes, right. Chiefs
Down
color
in
analyst will join us. We will preview the Super Bowl. Maybe try to go to Philly tomorrow as well if we can't figure out a way to squeeze that in. Of course, we will make our own Super Bowl picks tomorrow on the show and stuff and things. Yeah. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Baltimore County Police Department, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Maryland Jockey Club, Grade 8's Memorabilia, Maryland Vascular Specialists, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And I think, did we get a video up on TikTok yesterday? Check to see. I think that maybe Charles might have gotten a top 3 back up and running yesterday on TikTok. We're working on getting that back into the equation here in the coming weeks. That's it.
I'm trying to find it.
No? All right. Maybe.
Why can't I find Glenn Clark Radio?
Oh, for God's sakes. All right, never mind. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Clearly, I gave you the wrong assignment. I'll handle it. No problem. I'll get the answer.
Oh, yeah, we got a new TikTok up,
great.
baby.
New TikTok up. You can find. And right in the nick of time. Go check that out. All right. Have a great Wednesday night. Go UMBC. Go Towson. Go Navy. Duke sucks.